Pop that 40 and kick back. Here is Dan, Nick, and Ken. Now, pop that 40 and kick back. Here is Dan, Nick, Ken, and Rob. Now, pop that 40 and kick back with your hosts, Dan, Nick, Ken, Rob, and Matt. Now, pop that 40 and kick back with your hosts, Dan, Nick, Ken, Rob, Matt, and Angela. In Podcast Detroit, recording live. Prepare yourself for a hoppy drive. If you're chilling at home, pop that growler and just kick back for the next 2 hours. It's the end of the week, so here's to the weekend. It's Better on Draft with Rob, Matt, Nick, and Ken.
And we are live, episode 200, Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken, live in studio for the 200th. Definitely more than 200 episodes, but 200 official episodes. Time, thank you very much. The gentleman from episode 1 is here, Eric Brigham. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me again, guys.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming out. That's a very nice ESG glass right there, specialty just for all of our guests who have been on multiple times. I remember saying to you, as well as the other guest that's here for right now, to bring it, and I guess he just doesn't listen to text messages. Aaron Langtot, how you doing?
Thanks for having me. Hey, you know what? Since Pipe and Brock's not here, I'm going to use his.
You lose.
Is he Jeffrey Epstein?
Let's not start
That's
that.
a mute
Muted
already.
already.
Damn. The number's going to get high by the end of the show.
Oh my god.
I think we're just kind of, hanging around a certain level.
Yeah.
All right. Other than that,
I didn't do it myself.
we are live again in studio. I got the video up. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be giving away a $50 gift card to Zatuna Liquor later today.
There's a lot of beer that you can get for $50.
Yeah, you can get a lot of beer at Zatuna Liquor for sure. But I do want to do one quick thing before we start and thank all of our sponsors, former and current. So Three Neck Scoreboard over in Allen Park. That's right. That's right. Finesse Liquor over in Warren. We also have Zatuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills.
Yeah.
We have North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan. Brown Iron Brewhouse over in Washington Township. Am I missing anything?
We had Sporkle for a little bit.
Sporkle for a little bit. Tavor. I remember we had a ladies' intimate.
Yeah.
Like a lingerie company. Like a monthly lingerie box or something like that.
Did we have we had a credit card company?
We've had
pay off your credit card company. That was July, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was
live reads for
there was
payoffyourcreditcard.com.
Yeah, I forgot all about
Schoolcraft
that
College.
Schoolcraft College.
Yes.
Guys,
Wasn't Uber one of ours for a bit?
I think
Or Lyft?
we've always promoted it, obviously, for safe and proper drinking.
Okay. All right.
So let's go around the table, and we'll go to the guests too to find out what you're drinking. Nick, let's start with you. What are you drinking?
The part-timer is back full-time. Thank goodness.
For now.
For now. Yeah, for now. Yeah.
You didn't take off your Halloween costume. Oh, wait.
Oh, I see what you did there. I got a Bell's Double Two-Hearted. First time having it, and it's very double.
Is it twice as hearted?
It's twice as hearted.
Twice as hard.
Yep.
So it's 4-hearted.
Yep. And then, four-hearted. Yep. And then when my wife and I went on our anniversary trip, we went to the Sam Adams Brewing facility over there in Boston.
Stony Brook Road, huh?
Yep, that's right. And then got some stuff that you can't get in the stores, only at the brewery, apparently. We got the Oak Vanilla Porter, their Coffee Pale Ale, and their Nectarine Gose. And I have not had a sip of them yet.
Nice.
Matt, you got your Diet Verners.
Always, yeah. So I was out hunting for the Four Loko Seltzer for Rob.
Oh, the new one that just dropped.
It hasn't dropped yet. I think it's next week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fuck right off.
The question is will his nose bleed when he has it?
I don't think so.
No, this motherfucker got to pay me to drink that shit.
I'll come equipped with dollars.
I'm expecting to get paid.
I'll give you $5.
And then I was looking for my favorite seasonal variety pack, which is the Shiner variety pack, which is
Okay.
always my favorite.
Early.
No, all the winter varieties are out by now.
Yeah.
October 31st, baby.
Yeah, as soon as you put away the clown mask,
Yeah.
the Fat Man comes out. But I ended up with the nowhere in particular batch 35 strawberry tangerine sorbet IPA. It's a mimosa-inspired ale brewed with strawberry, tangerine, and vanilla.
And I think right now both Matt and I agree what it tastes like.
Terrible.
Here.
Yeah. If Charles Barkley made a beer.
No, I mean, well, I mean, you were saying it, but before we started that it tasted like squirt.
Yeah.
And it does to me. It tastes like strawberry squirt.
Flat, old 90s pop.
Yeah, it does.
Like basically, yeah. You grab some squirt, you like throw it into a French press with some strawberries, and that's what you get.
Like maybe if you took the vanilla out.
Because it's got, the vanilla comes back. It almost feels like it should be carbonation, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like if the vanilla was carbonation, it would taste more like a red pop, I think.
They weren't kidding about the sorbet part. Let's just
No.
that is 100% true. They nailed the sorbet part.
Yeah.
But I always like these guys. They came on. They were on like episode 121-ish, maybe.
Which
I
brewery
think.
is that again?
Nowhere in
Nowhere in
particular.
particular.
They're about a year ago, so
Yeah, that was
140 maybe.
That was a hot minute ago.
It was last
Yeah,
December, I'm pretty sure.
that might even be in our archive. I do want to mention, guys, we actually moved all of our episodes 1 to 145, so the Farewell to Angela episode, to our archive. You can get a few of them on our regular stream, but if you want to go all the way back to episode 1, which we'll kind of talk about here in a minute.
Jesus.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that because we have
night.
3 out of the 4 people here.
Yeah, we do.
But let's keep going. Rob, what are you drinking?
I am drinking. I've cracked open the ROAK. Which one is this? This is the Little Saint Nick, the Cranberry Gose, which me and Goses, we tend to not get along.
You like that one?
Really?
We don't. No.
Why?
I am usually I don't like purposely sour beer.
Well, then here, try this one because this one's not purposely sour. Try that one later.
And with the Watusi Moonshot, I was very surprised with that, and because it was like kettle sour with cranberry or not cranberry, caramel and apple. I'm like, no, this doesn't work, and it was like. To me, it was like one of my favorite beers from Summer Beer Fest. Mm-hmm. And then when we poured for you guys at Fall Beer Fest, I was like, all right, Cranberry goes. And when I get back there, unlike Matt over here, who doesn't actually try the damn beers before he actually starts pouring them.
It's like you yelled at, and you're not allowed to drink behind the
I know
the lines.
you're not allowed to, but damn it, if I'm gonna pour something, people are gonna know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
And
all
Exactly.
it is, it's quality control, baby. That's all it is.
So I went back and I said, boom, boom. I was like, I already know what Watusi Moonshot tastes like. I'm gonna go through that. And then I got to the Cranberry Ghost and I said, I already am like with this disposition that I'm not gonna like it. And I took the sip and I was like, yeah, I was right. I kind of don't.
Yeah.
It's like because it's just too damn sour for me. It's like, but I just still keep trying it because I want to keep trying it.
And you know what's funny? Like our sours, for the most part, they're all intro sours. They're not like so Jolly Pumpkins. Like when you think of sours, that's the brewery in Michigan,
I will
right?
not
that you
touch
think
Speciation.
of.
Yeah.
That them speciation.
Yeah, this actually tastes more tart than sour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we use some pink Himalayan salt in there that really, and real cranberries. We get them from, it's somewhere up north. But, I mean, it's for me, I'm not a big sour guy. For me, that's a good intro
See, and
sour.
that's what I like about most everybody else's that's not speciation or Jolly Pumpkin, because with them it'll say, oh, it has flavors of this and this and this, and I'm too busy dealing with the sour and that bitter that is there that I don't even get to the flavor, and it's like, this is frustrating. I want to at least get some bang out of this buck here.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yep.
So I have that. I also am I'm double fisted right now because I have Scary Stories from Ursula Brewery from Aurora, California, Colorado, which is a Baltic s'mores porter with cocoa nibs, vanilla, graham crackers, lactose, Colorado honey, and caramelized sugar.
I feel like that's just
Kitchen sink.
too many words.
You mean like Flying Buffalo, Griffin Club, Modern Times coffee?
Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Like, it's just sometimes it's just a little too much. Like, I just want a beer. I'm drinking, probably one of my go-to favorites, easy to find at most bars that are dive bars or anywhere you go, but Newcastle Brown.
You got a new label?
That's a new label.
That is a new label, yes.
When did they rebrand?
Tuesday. I don't know exactly when they rebranded. I'm trying to get it. There we go. Right on the camera.
There it is.
That's awesome. I love it.
So, Aaron, looks like you got some ROAK in front of you.
Yeah, I got a couple ROAKs in front of me. I got our Hopgazer, our New England IPA, and
I think I got one of those in my cooler too.
Yeah, and I got my personal favorite, our French Toast Devil Dog,
That'll
which
get you drunk.
yeah, it's 8.3%. It'll if you like breakfast with your beer, I mean, little maple syrup in there.
Why can't breakfast be beer?
It's a good question.
That's a
Good
thinker.
question.
I mean, there's that guy that did the beer for Lent for 40 days, where he only drank beer for 40 days and didn't eat anything.
Didn't he lose weight?
He lost a lot of weight.
He lost a lot. He lost
think like
it
30
was,
pounds.
No, it was more than that. I think it was closer to 50.
That's what you get when you don't eat food.
I think it's
Imagine that.
I mean, he's getting some nutrients.
I mean, I did a 10-day juice diet, and I lost like 1 pound. Like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, that worked.
I mean, they didn't taste bad, and it just looked really bad because they were all green smoothies, so they all had kale and mixed greens in them as I made them. Definitely I bought a really nice Ninja mixer.
Yep.
High quality for sure. The guy who runs Beyond Juice over here in Metro Detroit, if you guys have ever been to one of the Beyond Juices, I literally texted him and I said, "What do you use at home? I'm just going to buy that." And he told me what he used at home, so I bought it because I'm like, I'm not going to buy a product because they use all production juicers over there. So I'm like, he's got to have a regular one at home that he uses.
Is it just the 12-ounce bullet one that you press down and goes? Zoom, zoom,
No,
zoom?
this is a 72 ouncer.
Oh wow.
We call this the Tron Special. I'm making juice, bitch.
And
Stay away from Ken's bathroom.
Cognac, bitch.
Eric, what are you drinking over there?
I'm two-fisted right now. I'm about to be three-fisted. I had a little bit of the
Damn.
Cranberry Gose at the front that AA Ron brought. I'm cleansing my palate with some Strohs. And I brought a new fall seasonal or winter seasonal from Rochester Mills. It's a brown ale. It's called Leroy.
Is it Jenkins?
Leroy Brown
Brown.
Ale.
Baddest man in the whole
Leroy
damn
Jenkins, I love it.
And then I brought a few surprises for later in the show.
A few surprises for
Oh,
later in the
jeez.
show. I brought all
Well,
my
I'm surprised
beer.
I'm Ubering home.
Yeah, I brought all my beer to try to get everyone else to drink, and I think everyone had the exact same idea of just bringing a bunch of beer for
Oh, wait till
everyone else.
Pipin' gets here.
It's,
Yeah.
it's 200.
not-
I think he's
alive.
bringing hams.
He would bring hams.
He is a ham.
He is.
He's gonna have like a
Coming from
a
Smalls.
6-barrel of PBR on his back that just strapped his mouth like a scuba gear.
What are those? The camel packs. He's gonna have a
Rucksack.
camel
Yes.
pack of.
He went as a keg for Halloween. Strapped a keg to his back.
is a keg.
He is a keg.
Now
I've seen. You could do it. You just have a mini keg. in
I
your
want to
backpack.
rewind a little bit because we started this show in October 2015.
Yes.
And our very first guest at the time, we thought it was a big deal, and then we met him, was the president of the Brewers Guild at the time.
Definitely overshot that one.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some of that. Don't drink it all.
No.
There's
I
more
know
of
you
it.
like browns. So.
There's more of it. That's all that matters to me.
It's okay.
No, he said there's more of it, so that's
It's
what.
skip, just so you know,
Take the damn
it skipped
can.
Rob. So
Oh, it did?
That's all right.
Go give it to Rob.
Like I said, it's
I'll
got-
crack this one
He'll
open
just
myself.
have the whole can to himself.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Rock it up.
So that was over 4 years ago. I want to know. So we reached out to you before. We had never done a show before. This was our very first show.
We had it scripted
I
and
can't believe I
everything.
said yes.
Yeah. What was going through your mind at that time to
Who the
say
fuck are
yes
you
to
guys?
that? Oh yeah, because we never met. I never met you. Like as much as I gone to festivals and stuff. Like I didn't really know anyone in the industry at that time. God, I didn't know anyone in the industry.
Sounded cool to me, so I'm like, whatever. Go
Yeah, it
socially,
was-
socially drink some beers with some people. Okay, twist my arm.
Yeah.
I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Well, obviously you're here,
But I haven't
so-
done it for any other podcast, so I guess that doesn't mean anything. Or I lied, I guess I wouldn't do it.
A lot's changed since then. We've actually gone, I believe, almost 300% increase or 200% increase in breweries in the state. I'm trying to bring up the little graphic that
Yeah.
I believe, I think it was Batch posted it. earlier.
Something like it was like 149 or something at that
Yep.
point.
So at the end of 2015, when we finished, the first few episodes of our show, it was at 205. And we are currently at 357, and I haven't looked at the map because we have someone who runs the map. Thank you very much, Bill.
Where's that map?
The map is mibeermap.com. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
We're probably at, because again, we separate all of our breweries based on brewery or brewery production only, or breweries without like seating. So like you could have Stormcloud, which has a production facility separate of their actual brew facility. So there's probably 400 plus easy. Do you know what the number is right now?
I don't know because there's a lot of places that don't report stuff, or I mean, now that I'm not on the board anymore for the Brewers Guild, I'm just as much in the dark as everybody else.
Well, the big news about how I got a lot of information is that Michigan Beer Guide is going to be no longer. They're going out of, they're retiring, I should say.
Yeah, and I read that in a Facebook post after I didn't even know that was happening.
Oh, see, that's going to be, I think, not a struggle, because I think a lot of people used to get more information from the beer guide from the bars that they would go to or the breweries that they would go to, going over to, what's the place over in Rochester Hills next to Griffin Claw? Clubhouse BFD.
BFDs.
I remember I used to always go there because I knew the magazine would be there, and I'd pick it up and I'd find out what new breweries are coming out or what's going on. And I loved the year-end review where they would tell us all the barrelage, so we could see, especially the big one with Old Nation, seeing how much their jump was. Because everyone knew they exploded, but I don't think anybody really kind of understood until they saw the numbers.
You couldn't fathom the actual number change.
Yeah. I mean, you saw them going on and off shelf so fast. But
they had a huge jump.
Well, the average person doesn't realize, like, when you look at a barrel of beer, how many cases are in it, and then how many half barrels, and then as you jump into, when they went to Brew Detroit and are brewing 400 barrel batches, I mean, they're cranking out some volume.
Well, I know a lot of us in the beer industry, even if we might have known, maybe some of the information in that magazine wasn't new to us, but the Murmurs in Michigan page was always interesting because a lot of times that's how we'd find out like what brewers were moving to what breweries, and that was kind of back in the beginning of the beer guide. That was before social media was big, so you didn't have this instantaneous knowledge of any of that stuff, and so that was an important piece for us finding out just stuff internally in the industry.
Well, along with brewers, I think we're seeing a lot of turnover. But people not leaving the industry, as we have someone who has turned over and went to a new position. During like the summer, we saw a lot of salespeople leaving one company for another, moving from one to another. Aaron, when you came on for the first time, you were on, actually it was, as I have the date here, August 26, 2016 was the date that you came on. And I believe you were on to promote Cider Days.
Yeah. Yeah, I was with Blake's. I was 8 months into Blake's Hard Cider back then, and it's crazy to see because I don't know if you guys know this. Eric was my first real boss that I ever had. I mean, January 2014.
We should change your diapers.
I know. Yeah, seriously. No, and that was like that was like the end of 2014. Still, he was still changing my diaper, but
we still do that.
We still do every now and then. Drunken nights get to you. But, I mean, it's crazy to see how much the market shifted even in the 5 years I've been in it. I mean, it's crazy when you look back when we started 12 Days of Milkshake Stout back then. Like, it's
Who created that idea?
Aaron was very instrumental in coming up with that idea.
I wanted to give you that.
Me and Mike Plez might have almost fist fought. No, not literally, but there was a couple heated meetings back then, which was a lot of fun.
Well, let's kind of go back. Eric, how long have you been in the industry?
I started my first brewing job at Big Buck in '97. So
1897.
yeah, 20. Yes, been a little while.
Wow.
What? Maybe you can give us a little bit of insight, because we've heard a lot about it recently, just because we feel like we're at the precipice of the craft beer industry in the state. The craft beer crash of the early 2000s. Like what happened there to kind of change the landscape? Because we're also seeing a lot of these older names like Black Lotus, and some other murmurs that we're here. We'll use that word, of older breweries that are just kind of, putting up the
sign.
For sale sign.
For sale sign,
The
yeah.
close sign.
I mean, I think they're happening for two different reasons. Back then, it was a lot of places opened because craft beer was hot all of a sudden, and people jumped into it without really knowing what they were doing. I mean, that still happens somewhat today, but that was the primary reason. And then there was all of a sudden there was a lot of crappy beer out there, and so you saw a lot of places close that weren't necessarily doing a good job at quality control or putting out a good product. Doesn't mean that some places didn't survive that, even though they might not have been making great product, but.
Yeah.
Well, how did it crash in the early 2000s, but not crash in 2015, 2016, 2017, when it seemed like every week there was a new opening?
I think the consumer base matured in that time frame. I think you had more people. Obviously, every year a different group of people turned 21, and the craft beer industry was so young back then that you're converting everybody to drink craft beer. Nowadays, people that turn 21 have had craft beer in their life their whole time that they've been alive. And their parents probably took them to brew pubs growing up, and so they've just been around it. I mean, Aaron's one of those, he's been around the brew pub since how old were you when you started working at the mills at the brew pub?
15.
Yeah. So I mean, not your whole life, but it's been a long time. So he's been in it for a long time. But now I think the difference between then and now with the breweries closing is there's just too many. Not too many is a bad word to say. I think there's enough. You can still support breweries, but now the business plan that's coming out, the new breweries are surviving, and the ones that have been around for a while have to kind of reinvent themselves or align themselves with a new industry or a new type of business to kind of diversify their revenues. The smaller ones that are able to flip on a dime and make something different, or aren't afraid to make a drink that you can't look through, and all of a sudden that's the hot new craze.
That kind of comes and goes with the trends of the industry. Yep. You have the New Englands and the seltzers. Seltzers have probably been the big thing of 2019 without question.
Yep.
As
Yeah,
Matt
for sure.
And Matt is crossing his fingers that they go for another year.
I just hope it sticks around.
And I think it's gonna stick around.
Yeah,
People are gonna.
I don't think it'll go away. It's just.
I think it might slow down, but I don't think it's gonna go away.
I kind of think New
Yeah.
England's have kind of slowed down because I think everyone had a New England IPA at one point, and I think the ones that were good kind of stayed, and then the ones that people made it just to made it, they're either draft hot like brewery only, or they don't make it anymore because it's on to the next thing, the seltzer. Right. You look at Old Nation comes in and they start with M43 and then Juice Bigelow and Flavorful 5. So you have all of these New Englands that you guys still make Flavorful 5, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to make sure.
We went from it being a year-round brand to being more of a limited release.
Okay. All right, is Juice Bigelow year-round now? Yeah. Okay. So when I would go craft beer shopping, there was always three players in the game when I first started drinking, and that was Rochester Mills, Dragon Mead, and Kunin. And that was back when Kunin was in distro. Dragon Mead, I used to go to, I think Matt knows about this bar, Tappers over in, I think it's technically Rochester.
Rochester Hills.
Troy Rochester.
It's not west
I go to the bar every week.
Auburn.
Do you really?
Auburn
It's
and
like
John
around
R.
the corner from my house.
A family member of mine used to own the bar.
Oh, yeah?
And they used to have Final Absolution on tap, and I used to get growlers filled over there because I didn't have to go all the way to Warren.
Yeah.
I just went to Tappers.
That place.
Yeah, it's a little. I like it because it's a little dive bar, but
Is
they
it
have
a dive
Taco
now?
Tuesday, and they sponsor my softball team.
Yeah, I was gonna
They play
say
there
it's
on the
definitely
corner.
Is it still
soft-
Norma?
it's-
Eddie, what is that?
What?
Eddie still there? The big dude?
Yeah, Ed's got it still. Yeah.
It's definitely a softball bar
Yeah.
over there for sure because you're right over by the ballpark. Flynn.
Borden.
Borden's over there.
Flynn is just south of 59, and then Borden's just north of the bar. So.
Yeah, so pretty much right in the center. Good for them, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I was going with that. We were talking about
There were three
Juice
three beers that we used.
Yeah.
Kunin, Dragon Mead, and Rochester Mills.
Well, I think we might be getting into a place where, and look at this fucking table. There just might we just might be in fatigue of too many SKUs.
I was gonna say there's a ton of SKUs out there. Every brewery's putting on a ton of them, and I mean it's hard to make a choice sometimes. So you go, I'm just gonna go buy what I know for sure tastes good, or pick a couple things you want to try as new ones.
That's kind of where
that's kind of where I'm at too.
This as we just got handed around the Sam Adams Coffee Pale Ale,
Yeah, sorry, I
and
finished it.
No. That's
I'm kind of
don't
feeling,
apologize.
More to go.
I feel like it should have
bueno.
probably just stayed a pale ale, because I don't know. I mean, what Dunkin' Donuts coffee that they use to make this?
This tastes like Werther's original.
So it's
This is Werther's original ale.
so it's funny that you mentioned Dunkin' Donuts because
Because I mean, like they're
is
headquartered
mass,
out there.
so
aren't
yeah.
they?
what's that?
I would say if
It's-
it's
that is-
mass, it's got to be a Dunkin'.
Yeah. Well,
that's
it's interesting because when we went, my wife and I, we did this trip to go to Sam Adams. We were actually in Vermont prior to. We went to Harpoon Brewing over there in Vermont. They have a brew pub there.
Hanging with the Green Mountain Boys.
Yep, hanging out with them. Everything closes at 8 p.m. out there, and there's no lights. Anyway, they had a Dunkin' Donuts beer, like a branded beer
Yeah.
with Dunkin' Donuts, and I was gonna bring a 4-pack until I tried it, and I'm like, you know what? It's
terrible.
It's probably the same because I mean
it's-
we talked about it last
it's
year.
the brand thing, you know. It's like, oh, Dunkin' Donuts, because you know when you go to Dunkin' Donuts in Boston, it's like one every corner.
Do they have an Oxycontin beer too? Then
No, they don't have an Oxycontin beer. Can't help you there.
Yeah, this is a
Werther's
this is a-
original.
Yeah, this is a no. This is like
What-
old, this is like old Halloween.
Did you
candy.
try the Gose?
Yeah. Oh, there goes.
Yeah, there goes.
No, not yet. Not yet. I'll try that one.
Matt-
We should just
Matt
bring a
didn't like
bunch
it.
of Gozas for Rob.
For Rob,
just to
yeah.
continuously go through, try and
I
See
mean,
if we could find the one that he likes.
It's like basically if I do go to Winter Beer Fest this coming year, which
February.
I am not very happy with the way the days have been planned out. That it's now just Saturday,
Yeah.
which does make it very hard for me to actually get out there. But I'm feeling like if I get out there again, that I'm gonna make it just like this tradition. Every Winter Beer Fest will be all sours and Goses for me.
And then every Summerfest is all big barrel aged beers.
Fucking A right.
Sounds good.
That, no, because
inverse.
at the Summer Beer Fest, that was a mistake, and I said to myself, no, I'm never doing
Can
that
I ask
again.
your guys' opinion about the change? And from a perspective, obviously from a brewer perspective as well as a sales perspective, you know, the logistics from what I hear have just been terrible to do these 2-day brew festivals. Is that true? Is that someone over exaggerating? Like, what's your guys' opinion on the change to going from 1 day to 2? Because to be honest, I loved Friday night beer festivals. They are my favorite. I'm literally dreading Saturday afternoon in Grand Rapids or Saturday in Detroit. Like, I went to the Friday one and had a blast. The Saturday one, minus the weather. The weather was shit on Saturday. But again, like, it's just there's so many people there that you just can't do much. Like, what do you guys think of the change?
It's going to make the enthusiast hour that much more valuable to people that show up for that first hour.
Yeah, that is true.
Plus,
You
it's
wanna- you
everybody
can talk
in and
first,
out
yeah.
at the same time too. So,
Yeah.
like at least with 2-day festivals, you have Friday for usually the enthusiast and Saturday for the general public. Here, if you just have one festival, you're gonna have one crowd of people in and one crowd of people out. So that's gonna make hotels more expensive, transportation crazier, lines longer. Just
Well, I don't
shittier
think they're
show.
going to be selling more tickets for. Well,
The plan right now, as far as I know, wasn't to increase the attendance. It was they weren't selling out the Fridays.
Yeah.
And if anything, they were like less than half the attendance of the Saturdays. So
That's why we like Fridays.
yeah,
I know that's
Yeah.
why it was a great time for anybody that really wanted to be an enthusiast and go there. It was
Yeah.
that was
And learn.
I always
Yeah.
liked Fridays
That's why you go to
better.
Jimmy John's Beer Fest in Utica, Michigan.
Well, you don't get a lot of the brewers at those festivals. Like, you get a chance to sit down. Like, when I obviously, as we mentioned, which I'll take this glass real quick so I can show it on camera. But everyone that's been on the show multiple times, we got them a very special glass that says ESG for extra special guest. And I was able to deliver
Revoking
every
Piper
single
Racks.
one of them except for Travis from Old Nation. Because he wasn't there on Friday night. He was there Saturday. So I'm like, all right, whatever. But again, like I love that opportunity to be able to talk to people. And I think the brewers love that a little more intimacy for those slower nights.
Yeah, a lot of times the brewers like to hide from the crazy ones.
Well, on Saturdays, definitely.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that when you look at what some of these brewers are doing with their big setups too, I mean, setting up a big, I guess
Ordock,
Like
maybe?
like Ordock.
yeah, like Ordock or
Shorts.
or
Dark
Griffin.
Horse
Griffin
and
Claw
stuff
did a good job at the Fall Fest too. When you do that, doing it for 1 day and like 6 hours is. I'm not gonna say it's a waste of time because nothing's a
Defeats
waste
the
of time,
purpose.
but it does defeat a little bit of the purpose. The 2-dayer, I think you're able to again draw a little bit of a different crowd both days. You got the drunk fest, let's call it, on Saturday, and Friday you get the like you guys said, enthusiast hour and
The laid back,
Connoisseur.
laid back crowd.
connoisseur. Yeah, and I think you're mixing the two isn't a bad thing, but to what you said, that enthusiast hour on Saturday is going to be that much more.
Or maybe
valuable.
they maybe should do a 2-hour enthusiast, and then let the general public in, or maybe 2 levels of enthusiasts, like a super enthusiast or like a half enthusiast, and then a general public. Come on, right? Because by the time
I mean, they have the enthusiast hour, and I think maybe I understand what you're saying in regards to maybe having the allied and allied and above maybe for an extra half hour, 45 minutes before the enthusiasts come in. I don't know if they're able to get in before the enthusiasts, just because I gave all my allied tickets to my friends who got to enjoy the VIP area. Mistake by me.
Especially at the Winter Festival.
This was at the
Or even-
the Fall Fest, so I didn't know, and I had 4 tickets, and my membership expired like yesterday. I got to renew it. But I'm like, well, I got to use them, and I was actually late to be able to do it, and I messaged Diana, and I'm like, please, and then she's of course said okay. Yeah. So they get it, and I see like VIP allied member, they can go into the little special booth.
my friend didn't even know we could do that.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Well,
that.
it depends on what membership you have.
We have the allied as well.
Well, I have the hop cone or whatever, the
yeah.
pint glass or whatever. So the different levels get different things. I have a oh, you're filling that up. That's all right. I'm gonna drink some of this Leroy. Is the Leroy Brown open and still
Bruce Leroy is still here.
if you want to pass that down to me, Nicholas, if you don't mind helping
Please
me
tell,
don't
out.
mind.
please tell me you got that. Nick.
I did get
We
Okay.
do have more French toast.
One of the best days.
We definitely got plenty of beers here.
I will have to say
Finish it all.
that Devil Dog on Friday night Fall Beer Fest, that was obviously a hot ticket as always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's our fastest
Oh,
growing
yeah,
SKU
that-
in our portfolio.
yeah.
I would think it's Ice Cream Man. I love that beer.
Well, keep in mind, Ice Cream Man runs 2 or 3 months.
Dude, I'll bathe in Ice Cream Man.
Stop when he's passing by.
I still want a beer ice cream truck. Goes to the neighborhood, plays Papa music.
Yeah.
This
I'd come to your neighborhood.
nectarine Gose from Sam Adams.
Terrible. Right?
It tastes like weak tang.
See?
You say weak tang?
Weak
Wheat.
ass.
Weak.
Weak
Okay.
ass
Tang.
tang.
Nothing's
All
worse
right.
than weak
ass
tang.
tang.
Wheat tang.
I am not taking that shit to space.
Elon Musk over here.
His car's catching
I
on fire.
got
Fuck
beer
that.
Good?
right
Okay.
now. Yeah, I got the Leroy.
I got the vanilla oak porter that I'm trying right now.
So to follow up with your last question, Ken, I think that the guild was hearing some complaints from breweries that they had to send staff for 2 days. They had to get an extra hotel room. It was costly for them, especially for the winter in the Detroit where the weather was always shitty. Then you're standing outside for even longer. Take that or leave it for what it's worth. I mean, if you dress appropriately, it's not bad.
Right.
I mean, I never had a problem being there for 2 days. and
Yeah,
I'm-
you also wear shorts because
I just put jeans on for the first time yesterday. Now I'm wearing 2 days in a row because fucking winter's here early.
now, one of the things before we take a break, I kind of want to go over because we got called out on a local group in regards to our 20 beers to try
Is it 'cause
for the Fall Beer Fest. And one of the things that people did not like about that post is that we posted beers that you can normally get in a store. You can go to Holiday Market or Zatuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills. What is the reasoning behind bringing your standard SKUs to these beer festivals? Like, why do you guys bring it?
I think when you look at, there was I can't remember what month it was. Was it August or July?
It was a month.
Oh,
this
no,
year.
sorry. February. Flagship February. It goes back to...
Did you make that up?
No, that
swear
was
to
the
God,
thing. We
it was
actually
a
had
thing.
Sam Adams made it up.
Sam Adams did come out with it, and then New Belgium followed, and it became a thing.
We had it on our website. You can actually see a lot of breweries' flagship beers that promoted in the Michigan flagship February.
So this kind of goes back, I guess the question circles back to Flagship February, right? Because when you look at the month and the reasoning for that, so many of these beers that breweries are built on, whether it's Rochester Mills Cornerstone IPA back in the day, or Milkshake Stout, or ROAK's Live Wire, or Hopgazer, some of these beers, people for the first year or two as the brewery's growing, or 5 or 10 years, whatever it is, people, when it comes to, there's no loyalty. There's no consumer loyalty anymore. Yeah, it's an afterthought. The beers that built you are no longer the beers that are keeping you afloat. And I'm not saying that's the case for every brewery, but I mean, look at New Belgium's, what's their
Fat Tire?
Fat Tire.
Fat Tire.
You want to talk about falling off a cliff? I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy that arguably the number one amber in the country outside of Yingling, I mean, it just died. And it's
You don't hear about it
crazy.
anymore.
No, and it's unbelievable. And that's why, and I don't know if you want to jump in on this, that's why at festivals, bringing back these flagships that people are like, oh, I remember that beer. I haven't had it in 2.5 years. I'm going to have one. Gets it back out there.
And see, that's where I think Sam Adams messed up. Because when I used to be a distributor's rep, and that was just when craft beer was coming on, you know, the idea is Sam Adams, who has Boston Lager on everywhere, should have been like, hey, have your double IPA, have your Imperial Stout, but when you've had one or two and you can't handle anymore, come back and have a Boston Lager. It's a craft beer. It's something you're familiar with. It's something you can drink all day. And I think that's kind of like lost in the messaging is the idea of, hey, come back to where you're.
I mean,
you're
you're
used
gonna go to those 6 p.m. releases of your freaking ass's hat and grab your damn Night Furies and get your strawberry mango tropical M43s.
Mimosas.
You're gonna go there and you're gonna get in those big lines for those big beers anyway, and that's pretty much what's going to be there, other than what everybody already has as their flagships. So why just go there if you're just gonna go there just for those releases? Just I guess go for those releases and get the fuck out.
See, but I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying about Eric, because we're not in medium and I can't just point to you. And everyone
We are live on Facebook Live, facebook.com/BetterOnDraft. You can join us in the chat.
I think the thing that changes the most is I don't drive 20 minutes to a brewery anymore. I drive 5 minutes each way and I hit a brewery.
Baffin.
And then when I do go to another brewery, I will find a style of beer and I'll stay in that style. I'll stay in my lane essentially.
Yep.
So I'll still go to other breweries when I'm out and about in, let's say, Northville, Michigan. I'll go ahead and stop at North Center Brewing Company and I'll have one of their awesome beers, but it'll be one of the beers that I know that I'm going to like because it's the style that I prefer. It'll be an ESB or something like that. And then I'll call it a day and then I'll go home to the brewery that's 5 minutes away from my house. So I think consumption's up and I think there's enough room, especially with Michigan being even more and more hypersensitive about drinking and driving. I think breweries in the neighborhoods kind of piggyback off of that is drive 5 minutes, have a beer, support your neighbor, not a guy that lives 15 minutes away. Not that supporting, dragging me that's 15 minutes away is any worse than driving or supporting the guy that's, in my brewer or my neighborhood. But it's easier.
Yep.
We're all about convenience in this day and age. And I can still go to Dragon Mead and have a beer that I like and stop home and have a few at Baffin or Jamax or soon to be Copper Hop or Dragon's Landing.
Yep. Well, that goes back
Or
to
Atwater.
something we didn't really, I was going to expand on earlier. We talked about the actual brewing industry is there's a lot of breweries out there, but I still think every neighborhood can support a brew pub. And that will, they aren't going to get in the distribution game because that's too crowded. But you have a successful pub in every neighborhood that goes right to what Eddie Haskell's saying over here about going to your brewery right in the same neighborhood as you live. He's got a good do going on.
He does.
So that's one part.
Breweries are the new shot in a beer joint. Yeah. And now that breweries, the biggest thing they're expanding on is they're going to have stills.
Yeah.
So you're literally going to have a shot and a beer from your local brewery.
Well, that depends on if they get you the license.
Well, I mean, it seems like that's been the massive proliferation in 2019.
Yeah, several places are doing it.
And now they're trying to figure out how to do it and how to expand the profit line to cut down on, because you go to a lot of these breweries and they have 7 or 8 taps, and then on a weekend they're down to 5 or 6 because they blew a keg and they don't have the room to keep that production up. So, hey, if I get a self-made vodka or a self-made gin, I can now make cocktails that reduces the amount that I'm blowing my tank so I can keep a variety. Plus, I can make more money by selling cocktails and I can attract a larger crowd because it's either gluten-free or it's not beer because people don't like beer, or it's part of a burgeoning market because spirits still grow while beer still declines. And you have all these different ways, again, to support your local neighborhood.
I do have a question, if you don't mind.
It's all natural, by the way.
Me too.
Going back to your talking about the beer. Going back to your point about supporting neighborhood brew pubs, and this goes before Prohibition. What do you remember? What the number of breweries there were?
It's like in the 4,000s.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was just several thousand.
So we were in the 4,000 brewery mark, and the reason I'm saying this is just kind of piggybacking your point. We were at 4,000 brew pubs with not half the population, but substantially less, right? So
At that point, probably about roughly.
Here, I'll do that.
But I say, let's find out the. I mean,
Only there was a website. Maybe you can go to DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
Google that shit.
And the reason I'm saying is per capita, the breweries per capita back then probably, I don't think it rivals now. I think there were way more local brew pubs, to your point.
A third of the population.
A third of the population with, 2/3 of the breweries now. And
Roughly the same amount of breweries because we just finally surpassed a few months ago.
8,000, right?
Yeah, we're near almost double.
Oh, I thought we just passed breweries now that since Prohibition.
No, that was back like when we
Fuck my
first
life.
started
Yeah,
the show
yeah.
itself. One of the things that I think we see different is that we see a lot of breweries that are not because those breweries where that beer was served at that bar and that's it. It wasn't served anywhere else.
Yep. Right.
Whereas if you look at literally every single, there wasn't a craft beer bar. There wasn't a Hopcat back then. Not Hopcat as a brand, but
Bud bars or Miller bars.
yeah, exactly. You didn't
A lot of
have
tied houses.
you didn't have the necessity to I'll have it in a minute. The necessity to expand, because that's the thing is that you had a lot of people, and I think that when you need to expand is when the issues start happening. That's when you potentially go out of business, but that's also when you explode. Look at Drafting Table, River Rouge. What's the one in Milford? Is that
River's Edge.
River's Edge. That's what I was
Bam.
trying to say. All these breweries are distroing now, and they're trying to compete for shelving space versus people who have been on shelves for decades. Like you've been in every single Kroger for how long, Meijer for how long, and this is before they really allowed craft beer inside.
Which is silly because you can get that beer for $5 or $6 a pint at the bar. Why people are jumping into so desperate to jump in the distribution game where you make pennies compared to what you do in your own facility.
Well, I think from a business standpoint, it's like you've got to. I think the stat is you have to touch a consumer 7 times before they act on your brand, and if they go to the grocery store typically, 2 times a week, and so that's 8 times a month. Maybe that gets them into your brew pub once. So distribution, while isn't a money generator, it's still a way of
Yeah,
advertising
it's
to get
marketing,
into to get them in. Plus, I mean, why would I spend $14 on a 4-pack when I can go have a $5 pint at the same establishment? And then again, all the money goes in except instead of retail, wholesale, and then back to the distributor or the.
That is the big misconception that going wholesale is like the moneymaker. I think so many people don't.
Hold
understand.
on, we have a an extra guest that's going to be coming in for the second segment, who's
let him wait
actually
outside.
worked in that segment too. Worked in multiple segments of
What am I,
the
chopped liver
industry. You've always been. So
you're a co-host
One
on
of the
this show
breaks.
now.
One of the breaks that we or not breaks, but one of the sponsors we forgot to mention is the Ferndale set. That's right. So here is Brother's Son. We'll be right back. Better on Draft Podcast.
I'm headed for the city, trouble in my mind. I'm way too young and pretty for things to be unkind. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city, make me start again. Conversation now and then. Gotta go, gotta get it. Don't make things go south, baby. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. I'm headed started to dictate, make it in this life. Time is all we have now, so let's make something while we can. I'm headed for the city to make me start again. Conversation now and then, gotta go, gotta get it. Down, make things go south, baby. These eyes ain't looking back home. No, I'm now by myself on this road.
And we are back, episode number 200.
200.
Better on Draft podcast.
Starting already.
We have a special guest in studio today.
He is very special.
In more ways than one.
Now,
Window
No,
liquor.
he puts the extra in extra special guest.
now, if you guys haven't noticed, this is actually the same crew that we had for episode 100, which was back in September of 2017.
I have no idea why you ask us back.
So 100 episodes later, we are here. John Piepenbrock, the elusive John Piepenbrock, alive and well. How you doing?
Fantastic. Not that elusive. I mean, I really only go to like a couple places.
Now, we were talking with John. The first time we actually had John on the show was episode 36.
Holy shit.
You were actually on
Fuck,
here.
I'm old.
You were actually on here with Adam Zapp from Ascension.
Yeah.
And we were crushing beers that night. You invited us to come to the summer solstice, so we did our first and for a long time only live show
Yep.
over at
Never
Kunin.
again.
And from there, again, I don't know if you guys even remember, but as much as we did 100 and 200, Eric and John, you guys were on our special episode for episode 40.
Oh, the
40 ounce.
The 40 ounce episode.
40 ounce episode.
You know,
Nice episode.
I remember that. I almost stopped and bought a bunch of 40s today, but just to
Why,
commemorate
why
that.
don't you tell us what you brought us? Because the camera can see it, but I don't know if they can really.
You can do it, Rob.
I brought
Come on, Rob.
I brought a
Your
box
taste so
of
good
tea.
when it hits your lips.
In case you bleed.
Where's the bong?
I brought a box of tea. I brought a 10-liter bag and box of twisted tea. I love it. And it is damn delightful.
The commercial
and-
says ready for day drinking.
And Eric and I did a little arts and crafts on the break, and
Can I just say
made
that's
made
amazing?
a hole in the box.
Does
The
this-
fact,
now,
the
does
fact
it-
that you were able to do that, it's wild.
Now, does this get its
Do
own
what?
tube down
Put
the
a hole
river?
in the box. Well, that's always step one. You cut a hole in the box.
Step two. Put your tea in that box.
box.
Step two, you pour your tea from the box.
Oh, that's a different.
It's my tea in the box.
Okay, Justin.
Tea's in the house.
All right, so you got a Stroh's in front of you. You got a little
No, I
Puckers in
don't.
front of you.
I have a random
An
beer.
Altus.
I have a random beer.
Is that an Altus?
I told
No.
everybody you were bringing hams, and what happened? You must have slammed your hams before you got
Can't
here.
ruin his PBR sponsorship.
Well, you guys are fucking dicks, man. Why did I come back?
It's a great
Hey, it's High Life, right? It's High Life in there.
Yep, High Life in there.
I live
There we
light
go.
though.
Going with
Yep.
it.
Ooh, yeah.
Going with that.
Yeah, what
a
happened to the
lawnmower
hams? I worked 11 hours straight, and then as I was driving here, I went, shit, I forgot to grab a 30-pack of hams from the warehouse. So
We don't care.
You brought a bag of tea.
So I reached in the fridge, and I happened to have a 10-liter bag of tea in my fridge.
Can I just say this is way,
Don't
way better
you?
than the box of hams?
Hold on. Do you put that like in your freezer compartment and just like press your fridge button and it just comes in?
That would be sweet, but yeah, I don't want a freezer full of frozen-ish tea.
Just
so.
up the
He
ABV
meant fridge.
and they
He
won't
meant
freeze.
fridge.
Just put a little bit of some captains in there. And
You
just call it good.
want to just replace the water line.
Just
have
yeah,
it
pretty
hooked
much.
We're
up
on the
to
east
it.
side and we just got the lead water warning. So
What was that about?
terrible city government. You know the usual.
Yeah,
That's a
classic.
different podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This Ursula Brewing Scary Stories is pretty.
It tastes like chicken wings to me.
No, it's just really sweet.
Chicken wings.
I would totally buy a beer that tastes like chicken wings.
Chicken wings.
I get chicken
No, I
wings.
wouldn't.
Tommy Boy line.
And there's like nothing in there that says chicken wings.
You know what it does? There's a new brunch restaurant in the 6900th block of
I
Jefferson.
would say right now the brunch restaurant is
What is this,
Popeyes.
Chicago or something?
No.
69.
Popeye's chicken sandwich right now.
Hey, that was. I stopped there at 10
They were
o'clock. They
there.
don't serve till 1.
There we go.
They had hot chicken and waffles. This tastes exactly like that. Sorry. The hot
Wait,
sauce.
what is this restaurant?
It's we'll talk off air. It's over by yeah, it's in your territory. It takes 45 minutes to get any food though.
Then call.
Sign me up.
So get ready to spend an hour and a half there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
I'll be
All
in
right,
and
so
out in 10
before
minutes.
before the break, we were talking about festivals, and we had a lingering question that Eric tried to not answer.
Tried to answer. We had to go to break.
Yeah, so let's kind of get your answer.
Well, I think that a lot of to refresh everybody's memory, was whether you bring core beers to festivals or specialty product that you can't get any other time of year. But I think a lot of it depends on the individual brewery too. You know, you get a brewery that gets to a certain size and they rely on their core beers to be the carrying volume that keeps them going, and they supplement that with one-offs and specialty products and seasonal beers. But a lot of the smaller breweries, that's their whole life is Rotation Nation, and that's all they do is bring out new beers all the time, and beers that are pushing the envelope and using every kumquat ingredient that they can pull out of the cupboard. Thanks, Scott King, for that. But
He's not
I
dead.
mean, you look at the bigger breweries that are regional breweries, they still rely very heavily on their core beers. I mean, Bell's and Oberon, or Bell's is selling Oberon still. It may have gone down. Maybe it's not as heavy as it was. Founders still selling All Day. Those are still very approachable entry market beers for craft beer, but that's what carries their volume. But the small breweries they're relying on, what they can put the wackiest ingredients in, or what they can draw attention to at a festival, and what's being talked about. So if a new brewery, that's basically the majority of what they do. If at an existing or established brewery that's been around for 10 plus, 15 plus years, 20 plus years, they probably have a mixture of some core beers because that's part of brand building, and it's also, but they also have beers that they want to let people know that they can experiment, they can cater to those, one and done type of beer styles and get people talking about their brand.
So this might be more of a question for Aaron, but how important is it for you to familiarize the consumer with not only your main beer but your offshoots? Because I feel like when you go to a brew fest and you line up Flavorful 5 or one of the beers that they know, and they try a second beer that they like, that almost reinforces the brand, and it almost quintuples the likelihood of them visiting and being a repeat customer. Because this is as much for advertising and to sell beer as it is for, this is a trade show essentially.
Well, it's like anything else. Innovation drives sales, right? It's your core brands are gonna for for breweries that are like Eric said, if you're regional, even a semi-regional brewery, core brands are going to have to drive sales and take you out of state. You're not going to go out of state and take 40 beers. I take it back and I say you might be able to, and you might be able to do that successfully, but none of those beers are going to be able to do high volume. But having those innovation beers, let's call them, that innovation series, you might have to have 1 or 2 series that you can constantly come out with new things. Those are what keep people invigorated with your brand.
Well, they draw attention more than anything. You know, you go to a festival, you see something that catches your eye in the program, like, oh, that looks something different. You never heard of the brewery, you're gonna go to it. Doesn't matter if you don't like that kind of style or not. Guess what? I'm gonna be there because I've never seen it before. And I feel that that's the way that you kind of have to kind of break through a little bit.
Well, it's like anything. There's so much noise out there,
Yes.
and it's not just the beer industry. You look at literally anything. Cereal. You look at milk. There are.
What's the
I've had
next
this great new milk. What the fuck does that mean?
Beef milk.
It's what's the next big, like the next trend? What's it going to be that's going to set the next trend?
You have to constantly be innovating. And dude, I want a cow.
Can you milk a cow?
I
Well,
want a cow.
here's I think I get with what Aaron is saying, because we're introducing newer and newer cereals, but the regular cereals are still on the shelves. Like, you know, there's
kinds of
What's
crunch
a
berries.
malt?
Yeah,
there's
this
still
granola
your
on
Apple
draft?
Jacks.
What's
There's
going
still
on?
your corn pops. There's still your corn flakes.
well,
Your
look
raisin
at
bran.
there's Cheerios, but you know you're gonna get your Honey Nut Cheerios
Yeah,
and your Tostitos
your
and
chocolate
your
Cheerios.
Chocolate Cheerios.
Toasted.
Yeah,
Pretty soon you're gonna get your barrel aged Cheerios. We're waiting for that one.
All right, can someone make a
barrel-aged
beer named
Cheerios.
Barrel Aged Cheerios?
A. Royd
I'm
made a
waiting
good
for 4
point.
Loco O's.
For
It already has 4 O's in it.
Four look. O's.
Now, A. Royd made a good point. It's all about volume. You know, you can turn and burn these unique beers, but if you're really trying to grow to a brewery of substantial volume where you're in multiple states, the core beers and your drinkable, approachable beers are probably what's going to carry you. You still need that uniqueness. You need a mix of both.
Because at the same I'm sorry, Garl, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say isn't that pretty much the reverse of the breweries that tried to come into Michigan? Because when you look at things like
I agree.
When New Belgium came in, it was just like, hey, here's Fat Tire. When Ballast
I
Point
think it was
came
a
in,
lot.
Well,
I think Ballast Point was the last big name that came in that had a lot of pomp and circumstance.
Well, what about
when
like
Cigar City came in,
Yeah.
no, nothing.
But I think that's
Can I interrupt?
of course,
yes.
No.
No. An example of someone who's come in with like 4 SKUs and stayed relevant. Brewdog.
have they
I
got
can't
some-
even
Look
tell
at-
you one BrewDog SKU. Honest to God.
Punk IPA, right? Like
Elvis Juice,
Elvis
Hazy
Ju-
Jane.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Any dude, they
that
don't
shit
sell. They
rocks.
sell
What are you talking about,
5.
Willis?
They sell 4 or 5 literally SKUs, and that's it, right? And
Absolutely.
they're in your portfolio.
Well,
yeah,
what
they're in
about
our
like
book, and we
what,
kill with it.
what about like Hop and Frog, for example? I mean, no one. I didn't
Are
even
they
hear.
still in Michigan?
Are
Yeah.
they- are
Yeah,
they?
they're still in
They're still in
Michigan.
Michigan. I mean,
Same thing with Revolution.
I mean,
Good
I
for
didn't
them.
even hear of
Revolution,
Hop
we
and
kill
Frog
with
until
them,
all
too.
of a sudden these
I don't
4
know
big
about up here in
beers
the burbs, but
come into the scene. I'm like, okay, and like, but you know, it's those bigger beers at the time that people were wanting to try.
And actually, another one that came in that I kind of feel like didn't get a whole lot was Urban Artifact.
Okay.
So Urban Artifact has and they kind of stick around in kind of the Gose and sour area. So nice. Yeah, I mean that's all for.
I don't know.
For the most part.
I think I agree with Eric with the volume, but I think you need to have that variety. You need to have that off the wall, crazy ass idea to really, especially in Michigan where you have over 300. Is it 350? Ken, over 350. 350.
You literally just looked at the meme.
357 breweries.
That's how much we ended with last
as
year.
of end of last year. Now, yeah, we've had a couple closes.
2018.
But
We've had more
we've got
open
some
than
new
closed.
ones this year.
well, the most recent
But you're
edition,
gonna have
also
to-
the final of Michigan Beer Guide. And I'm sorry to interrupt,
No.
but let me just point out
Go-
that
go
it
for it.
listed 393 locations.
As of the most recent episode, issue.
393.
393. So
And you can find them all at mibeermap.com. Go on, Nick.
so it's I think the graphic you shared on all the social medias, Ken, it said like we were averaging one brewery a week. We're still trending that, it seems like now, and we're approaching the end of 2019, and we're almost over 400. We talk about the craft beer bubble. I mean, is it still really a thing?
I think they're still going to open.
I think they're going to open. They're still going to run business. They'll run their course, at which point... You guys just put
this time.
You just put whiskey in twisted tea,
Yes.
did you?
Call a cab.
Oh,
No, I got that from Tennessee. So
I mix my alcohol with alcohol.
They do not cancel each other out.
clank.
The result is a non-alcoholic.
I mean, I don't want to change the subject, Ken, but you know, that's always been a topic on the show.
changing the subject.
Yeah, well, changing the subject. The craft beer bubble.
Well, I think we've kind of, as much as I don't think we know the answer, I think our answer to the question is that those mid-market breweries are going to get eaten up or destroyed, and it's the small local breweries. But then again, you know, there are a lot of things that we just don't know that will take into effect of a brewery if it stays open or closed. For instance, Black Lotus. Black Lotus was a mainstay in downtown Clawson.
Yep.
They haven't, you know, as much as Nick the Brewer does a lot of good beer himself, their flagships were very, to be honest, subpar. They weren't anything to write home about. I never said, oh man, I loved I-75 Amber. Like, words never came out of my mouth like
We're
that.
not gonna have that Gordie Howl again.
I mean,
Actually, I can give you some. Actually,
The rest of the house.
Some bootleg.
there's plenty around.
But again, I think these smaller breweries, as we were kind of talking about the 4,000 breweries before Prohibition, those breweries are going to do well. Those breweries are going to do, they're going to succeed. It's when you have to gamble to move into distro and gamble to move outside of your element is, I think, where you're going to either, you know, where people are going to start failing or being bought.
I think it's when you look at breweries who are willing to step outside the box and things they don't know and experiment. If you want to bring up Old Nation, I mean, they were on the brink of bankruptcy, right? Like, we all know that.
Yep.
And then came out with M43. Like, isn't that the story? Like, they came out with M43 like a couple weeks before they were about to go under, and then blew up. Like, that beer just kind of took off. Its founders did the same thing. They almost went into bankruptcy twice, right, in the late 90s.
Yep.
When you look at
They actually had to cut the chain off of the door one day to get back into the
Bolt,
brewery.
that's where Bolt Cutter came from, right? The beer.
That was a beer.
Yeah.
They have a beer.
Bolt Cutter.
Yeah, that's been retired for a while.
All right, no, I just didn't know. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
I feel like we had that when Alex came on with Kevin.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, they had a specialty because it was a, what do you call it, only at one point, a founders employee only beer.
That's cool.
I said no. I've had
they
it
do
at
that
the
for, like, Christmas gifts for the
Yep.
staff. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Now, but before you go on, if
shit.
you guys go into our archive, you can go into our archive on Spotify, iTunes, all the other podcasts. Episode 61 is the first time we had Travis in the show, and he brought us the second batch of M43 in a glass bottle and said, I don't know how this is going to turn out or how this is going to act. If you listen to episode 61 in the archive, you can see Travis, like, you know, he talked about how well traveled he was, how, you know, the beer he's made, where he was brewing in Germany and the stuff that he did. And then he gives us this beer and he's like, I just don't know how it is, because he took the challenge of a local Facebook group and turned it into a business.
And didn't Travis came from Detroit Beer? Was it Detroit or Royal Oak?
Detroit.
Detroit Beer Co.
Detroit.
Yeah,
And
because
also
he's
Michigan Brewing Company.
Michigan Brewing Company. Yeah, he is the one that owns the rights to Detroit Dwarf, which was a DBC product for a bit. I think there's one more on that.
He's still making Detroit Lager, I think, too. And then the Sanders Chocolate Stout.
Yep,
was
he
making down
owns the
there.
Sanders
Yes.
Chocolate Stout.
Good beer, by the way.
I mean, it's a brown ale, so obviously.
I mean,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
like
right up. It's
Travis
right up
has
your
done a
alley,
lot of
Kenneth.
stuff. He's one of the guys who had the pleasure of
Meeting you?
brewing under.
The pleasure of meeting you.
No, that's not a pleasure.
We're in the grace of John Pipenbrock.
He had the pleasure of working under Pierre Celis when Pierre was in town, you know, getting
Over at Michigan
the
Brewing
Celis
Company.
White brand reinvigorated under Michigan Brewing Company. So, you know,
And he
him
trained in
and-
Germany. I mean, he's got
Yeah.
a storied history. in
He was an
Germany.
amazing
He
brewer,
speaks
but
better German than he does English.
when he drinks
Oh
Jägermeister.
my God, he speaks some hilarious
He's not even here to defend
German,
himself.
too, so.
But circling back, I mean, at the end of the day, it's it goes back to if breweries are willing to not only experiment but step outside the box. I mean, who would have thought 24 months ago that seltzer would be like the largest you guys are selling.
I was going to say, yeah, the people.
24 months ago, I was not on the distributor side.
Oh, no, I
saw
know.
that and
Actually,
went, yup,
but
that's gonna
36.
win.
I was on this distributor side 36 months ago. So I came home and got drunk playing Madden one night at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
with White Claw.
Madden. What the
Yeah.
Uneasy.
Like on sales and samples. I'm like, wow, this is going to be
Really?
something.
Hey, Magic
Dynasty
Ball, what's
mode.
happening in 2020?
Lions are winning
seltzer.
this no matter what.
More
Stay tuned. I'll tell you after the break.
Oh boy.
Well, we mentioned it when we had Scott Newman-Bale on episode 199.5. We had 4 episodes for the Fall Beer Fest.
Yeah.
So Scott Newman-Bale was on 199.5, and we talked about having seltzers at the festival because, as someone who has poured for Cellarman's, one of the big things is removing non-beer products from the festivals. But because seltzer is considered beer, people can bring it, and therefore it seems
Taxed as a beer.
I was gonna say
it's taxed as a beer. Well, I mean, you're a Brewers Guild president. I mean, it's considered beer, and therefore the Brewers Guild did nothing about it because they let breweries bring more than one seltzer. Ordog brought 2. I like both of them.
Liberty Street brought 1.
Liberty Street brought their 1, but there was one that brought like 3 or 4, like Clear Coast, I think. Perrin might have brought 3 or 4.
I actually just bought a 12-pack of
Atwater
shorts.
brought
That was
several.
really good.
Griffin Club brought several.
yeah, Tropical Beaches is really good. I got a chance to try that. But
Tropical Beaches. It's funny.
yeah,
It
it's
Go it
Go on.
wouldn't surprise me if the current board addresses that in this year, just because
They're going to
there are
seltzers,
people.
or are they going to?
Well,
open it
I
up?
have no idea because I'm not on the discussions. But the whole reason behind, not allowing ciders and meads at the festival is because they potentially take away sales from beer, and so the breweries that don't produce those other products, it potentially hurts them. The breweries that are making their products, obviously, they would like to promote those, but they're still breweries. And then when you get a cider maker that doesn't really produce beer other than for the festivals, and they were showing up, that's when they were like, that's kind of, you're just trying to be a member of the guild to promote your cider and not, make beer any other time of the year. That's when they were like, oh, this is just kind of riding beer coattails.
now
I don't know if that'll happen with seltzer or not.
I'm going to end the conversation.
Oh, wow. Putting the hammer down.
Well, because we got a completely different answer from Scott Newman-Bale
Well, I'm
on
curious.
episode
Like
199.5.
I said, I'm out of the loop, man. I don't know.
So what we were informed was, well, you were the president at the time that decision
For the
happened.
cider stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So we were informed that if you were to allow cider makers, winemaker, well, we'll use the winemaker's license because that's what it is, cider, wine, meat, etc., into the festivals, you wouldn't be approved for the license that would allow brew pubs to come into the festivals.
Yeah, that actually, I was part of that, and it came up. That came up after the fact. It was part of the. It got, I guess, looked into and investigated during that concept.
Okay.
And
'Cause
the state had redone the special event licenses. There used to be just one, and then they created this beer festival license, which is what the guild needs to be approved for buying beer from.
Aaron's all about that twisted tea
If
over
only,
there.
if only there was some like
Aaron's
group, like
teabagging.
some board or some guild that could talk to people in Lansing and change laws. Oh my God, what kind of crazy?
So now, but
hold on, man. That's
hold
the
on,
reason
wait,
that
hold on.
license
that
exists.
John's
license
gotta say
exists so that the brew pubs could actually have their beer there, because no other festival, unless it's a festival run by an organization that is comprised solely of breweries, microbreweries, and brew pubs, can buy beer from brew pubs. So technically, like the what's the one in Frankenmuth?
World Expo
Yeah,
beer.
World Expo beer legally can't buy beer from brew pubs. I think there's still some brew pubs that show up there because they just don't care about it. But legally, they can't buy beer from brew pubs,
Turn
whereas
blind
Brewers
eye.
Guild can, or the Lakeshore Brewers Guild can, or any other Brewers Guild that's comprised of breweries and brew pubs and microbreweries can buy beer from brew pubs for their tasting events.
And that's also why you see brewery employees pouring beer at the Michigan Brewers Guild festivals. Because as employees of breweries or wholesalers, you're not allowed to serve beer to consumers. But the employees of the breweries are, by default, members of the charitable organization.
Members
that
and
has
owners,
pulled the members and owners. that has pulled the license to run this promotional festival under the Michigan Brewers Guild umbrella. Thereby, you're promoting your own products under that specific license. Any other festival where you see a brewer pouring his own beer, that's also kind of not really. It's not supposed to happen.
I mean, Zoo Brew, perfect example of volunteers.
Well,
you don't see the distributors or you don't see the brewers.
Now that's not.
It's also a venue license.
It is a vet. Yeah, you're right. It is. World Expo beer, another one. As we talked,
JC's gets that
the JC's, yes.
Jimmy John's Beer
Now,
Festival.
Jimmy John's Beer Festival.
I need to clarify too. When I say serving customers and serving the public, I specifically mean like drawing a tap open, pouring a beer, and handing it to that person.
Yep.
Now there is absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, I've always encouraged it, and we all have, for representatives of the breweries to hang out at the table, engage consumers, talk to them, let the volunteers pour the stuff. But then there's more and more festivals that are not reading deep enough into the laws, and they're seeing needs to be volunteer pourers, can't be brewers. And so they're like, all right, no, you guys can't even come in. No, you can't come behind the table. No, you can't touch anything. That's where that becomes a problem.
And then for anyone who wants to come in and set up jockey boxes, anything, at that point, it's more of a pain in the ass and a hassle to get everything done, and then be like, well, what the hell am I going to do for 4 hours if I literally can't do anything? If I have to stand, no one wants to stand in front of in front of your table and be like, hey guys, it's awkward. It's awkward to be like, have them like right there. Like you want to be engaged with the customer. Right?
Rob, myself, Matt, my wife. Matt, Ken, you, you did, Ellison. We all poured for ROAK during the Fall Beer Fest, and
some for the summer,
and for the summer.
Thank you guys.
Yes,
by the way.
Thank you. Having that person representing the actual brewery, the actual employee represent the brewery. Someone like myself who just drinks the shit. I don't claim to know anything about beer other than I just know how to order it and how to drink it. And what I like and what I don't like.
We like you.
But I mean,
but to have that person explain, well, this is what this is, that's what that is, that you could expect this behind us as we're serving, that helps.
But that's the other thing is that, we can give. Obviously,
we can give
the drinker like the I guess the true drinker's perspective. I hate to put it that way.
Well, it is,
but it kind of is because and that's one of those things where when we get to the festival, wherever we're pouring, that's like, other than me going to the first 15% beer that I can find and just get fucked up on.
Yeah, which is a mistake. Which is
not
huge
what happens.
Mistake.
But
it's a rookie mistake.
Exactly.
It's a rookie mistake. That's your first beer festival
They're good.
mistake.
But at the same time, it's like right after that, I'm going to wherever we're pouring, and I'm like, all right, I need to try all of these so that I can understand the profile.
Like,
so that when these
summer,
people come
for you
up,
for doing that.
and then when they come up, hey,
exactly.
I want a sour. I want a New England. I just. Give me something that tastes like hams.
Like,
I don't know.
Well, we'll pick on Summer Beer Fest. I think that was the first time that my wife and we poured for you guys at Summer Beer Fest. And I'm like, I wasn't going to serve a single person until I had at least a sip of everything.
Yes.
Because I'm not going to go in there and be like, I'm going to be like, oh, I know this and that. I'm like, I'm not going to try to be stupid about it. Go ahead, Matt.
All right.
You're getting impatient
So,
over there.
yes, I'm getting impatient.
Matt's always impatient.
So
True.
we
I feel
saw
like I can just take my headset off. And
we saw
Get ready to mute him.
we saw some things come out.
ready.
So
Go to break, Ken.
Michigan is the fourth biggest beer state per capita. Okay,
Fourth or fifth?
top five.
I thought it was fifth.
Okay,
I think it's,
so
it's
numbers
fine.
just came out.
I think they're top 10.
Per capita or per number
Breweries
of
per
licenses?
state is 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
About
I think
per
it's.
capita.
Yeah.
Okay, technically, McGee.
Whatever.
That's two. It's two different metrics. I mean, because you will have the nerd that's going to call in and go,
let him
actually,
talk. Let him
Get your
talk.
huddle board straightened
we're
out.
12th per capita.
Oh,
Okay.
Damn.
all right.
We're up there.
Anyways,
So
so
numbers
we,
is fine.
I think numbers just came out. We were looking at them. Ken shared them today.
yeah.
We have 21,000 people working in beer currently, and average wage of $41,000 per job. That means the beer industry alone, which does include wine, ciders, meads, etc., is $861 million in this state alone. So take tax revenue. I don't know what
Take a third.
is
Take a third away.
That's a $250 million in
Thanks,
taxes.
Obama.
I don't know.
So, anyways,
All right, 27%. Fuck it.
for us to not,
I don't fucking know.
for us to still have these arcane laws where you can't
Hey,
have
he would laugh too.
a cider at a beer festival or a wine at a whiskey festival, you can't have this collaboration of the alcohol sector is chicanery, tomfoolery, and overall fooey.
Shenanigans.
Well,
I love that you
I
just
mean,
use fooey.
Fooey.
I feel like, and I'm not
F-O-O-E-Y.
going to be able to speak for all the brewers, but I feel this is two-part. I think the Brewers Guild itself needed at those times to fill up the festivals with the likes of your B Nectar, Blake's,
Well,
Cellar.
we never. Well, they.
with the likes of,
They never.
Whoa.
likes of,
I'm not.
You don't
with
work
them.
there no more.
That's why I said, whoa, wait,
Cider
we-
boy. Right.
Cellarman's, etc. But once you got to a point where you're having a waiting list for breweries to get into the festival,
Wait, there's a waiting list?
Oh yeah,
Was there?
I mean, look at how
Ah,
many
that's a
breweries
serious
we
question. I
have.
don't know.
They
yeah,
actually
Okay,
they,
all right.
they
I mean,
haven't
I'm
had
not
to turn away a
surprised.
brewery yet, but they have to squeeze them in sometimes.
But
so.
that's like saying we can't have, like we're in Caseville, we can have a cheeseburger fest, but no Impossible cheeseburgers because it's not grown from.
Because it's not a hamburger.
No.
Because
no,
you
no.
have
That's
no
apples
idea.
and kumquats.
No, it's not. Because here's why. Come to
It's still a burger.
The thing
still a
is,
burger.
but it's not made from the burger
But
ingredients.
it's still a burger.
But it's not made from the burger ingredients. The issue is people. So many people go. It's like the
define a
same.
burger.
Hey, you know what? Sam Adams still craft.
Yeah. It's,
we all know. We all
I'm
know
gonna time out before I
bullshit,
burn
though.
my tongue.
Where's the
We
line
all
on the
know that's
whiteboard for that one?
Yeah.
Does it go this way or
Why
this
gotta be
way?
whiteboard?
Yeah, because it's easy to erase. Changing. Oh, sorry, black. Ah, got it.
No, that was good too.
Aaron almost spit the tea out over there in the corner.
See, I don't see race. I wasn't even thinking that way.
Hold on, we're cutting that part of the conversation before it goes further.
That's a good idea.
Smart.
John, go.
Anyway.
Let me add something to this, and this is based solely on me flipping through today the final issue of Michigan Beer Guide.
It's been out for a week.
Well, whatever. I don't. It takes me a long
John
time
don't
to read.
care.
Jeez.
He likes to look at the pictures.
Yeah.
I look at the
Reads the
pictures.
articles.
He hasn't shit in a week.
So
Shit in a week.
God, let me fucking talk.
Hurry up.
So the Michigan Brewers Guild was started out of necessity. So at that time, I mean, this was 1997, correct, Eric?
Yes.
1997.
December 1997. You are correct.
Those years are blurry for you. We know. Not you. Well, maybe you.
Yeah, they were actually. I was a senior in high school, and yeah, they were blurry as hell. The Michigan Brewers Guild was created out of necessity. You had a number of breweries at that time that were trying to do something different. They had a dream, they had a passion, they had started these businesses, they had invested this money, and they knew that they had something, and they wanted to get that out there to the people. And the people who did get it enjoyed it, but they needed to get it to more people because ultimately, as sad as it is, it's we're tied to money.
Yeah.
All of us, every
Yep.
single one of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying the bills and if you're not putting food on the table, then you're fucking doing it wrong. And that goes across the board.
Yes.
So what had to happen at that point, it wasn't it wasn't in response to wine, it wasn't in response to cider, it certainly wasn't in response to mead because mead really did not exist in Michigan at that point, except for a handful of guys that had studied the concept and were making it at home. It was in response to big beer. It was in response to Miller and Bud and Labatt and Corona and Heineken and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was, hey, yeah, that stuff is good, but there's this.
With some flavor.
So it was very, while yes, the focus may have been very laser focused, there may have been blinders on, it was done that way on purpose. It had to be that way. There's nothing wrong with promoting craft cider, with promoting mead, with promoting, small batch wineries and craft distillers and sake and whatever the hell else you want to promote. And kombucha, I guess. But I personally feel that there needs to be another outlet for that. It doesn't need to be the Michigan Brewers Guild. It doesn't need to be their responsibility to promote that actively in their festival. There can be a partnership with another organization. Maybe there's a larger mothership organization, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I have no official say in
I
anything.
disagree with that because the Brewers
Of course
Guild.
you do, because you're
Matt
have to
Bush.
disagree.
Because the Brewers Guild blazed the trail,
That's why.
and the thought is they need to help others in that position.
Why?
Why not?
Well, here I have 2 points. One of the
Wah.
ideas I had when I was still on the board, but it never really got to be a serious conversation, is I thought a cool additional festival would be to do an all Michigan alcohol festival.
Yeah.
Spirits tasting, wine, cider, mead, and beer. Would be a monstrous event because you think about the number of players that would have been there.
At the Silverdome. Let's do
It
it.
would have been huge. But now,
I feel like that idea is imploding.
in regards to when the choice is made to not allow cider and mead or winemaking licensed products or distiller products at festivals, is they went back to the bylaws and they said the bylaws say we're in existence to promote and protect the breweries in Michigan, and when cider and mead might be a threatening beverage to the beer industry, which is the same as hard seltzers, but they're made with the beer license, which is weird. But that was the main basis for looking into that to begin with. That's why the conversation
I just
started.
think it's
But to
cider
that point,
I think cider helps the beer industry more than it hinders the beer industry.
Well, if I can jump in.
perhaps.
If I can jump
Oh,
in.
yeah.
Cider boy, what's happening?
Yeah, why don't I jump in here? So, if you look at the Michigan Brewers Guild, when you look at cider, and I'm sure spirits, I know there's a Michigan Spirits or Michigan Distillers Guild, right,
Yep.
or association,
Michigan Distillers Guild.
right?
Yep.
So there's also the Michigan Cider Association. So, to your point,
Eric?
if those three, Eric,
not
Easy,
Emilia.
we call him
He's
Easy.
known me since he was in diapers. He
Literally,
knows
like,
what he wants.
yeah.
Which was like last week. So
I said 2016.
We
but
covered
I'll
that
take,
when you
I'll
weren't
take
here.
that. Yeah, yeah. You half hour late. It's okay. 45 minutes.
well, some of us have to work.
If those three associations or four associations from the every sort of liquor got together and wanted to do your idea, or maybe you spearheaded that, I think
got spare time.
now you do. Now you do. It's kind of amazing.
I mean, I guess
Get
it's-
back on track.
I know my calling for 2020.
Focus, millennial.
I bet.
That's my platform.
Yeah, I bet you, if you got those couple associations together, that idea would go over splendidly.
I mean, is there
To the
some-
public, it'd be awesome.
I mean, for the most part, I mean, basically, you have an alcoholic Voltron that could be formed here. What is holding us back?
Yeah, I think the biggest, in
Time.
my head, the biggest challenge
Honestly,
would be
time.
also how do you have to have different samples for liquor and yeah, you said one sample is one sample. You have a different line for liquor, different line for beer. But
Well, yeah, because it's one
Test
ounce.
tubes.
It's
One
one
ounce.
ounce, right?
It can be done.
Test
I've
tubes.
done small events that have samplings of different types of alcoholic beverages. It can be done and regulated, but to do it on that scale is a whole other beast. Also, there's the licensing aspect of it, which is a whole other beast. Not
Bigger
that
venues.
can't be done. It absolutely can be done. We got it done with the Michigan Brewers Guild to legally allow.
you find a way.
That's
Uni-
not, it's not big enough.
unicorns
participate.
as security guards. Be good.
Not for that. No way.
Though, just lets us to inflate the price of the ticket.
I'm talking about the actual for every vendor. You're talking spirits, wine, liquor,
cider,
mead, beer.
The amount of stuff
Dude,
they have to bring.
The amount of tickets
Do you
have
realize
to sell.
how much this would cost?
That's what I'm
the-
saying. It's
that's-
insane.
$100.
Well, you would need an area
Because
that's
payment needs to be made up front. That's the other thing about our laws in Michigan. It's not like people can just show up and then pay you after the fact for whatever they sold. Payment's made up front. Period.
and your insurance costs just went way up.
I'm gonna be honest. I do think you could, if you plan it the right way.
Huzzah! I shall do it.
You could knock this out of the park and absolutely destroy it.
Nobody in this
We
room.
are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Better on Draft Podcast.
takes me all around. Yeah, it's got me riding that wave. I got my money where my mind is, and I like it that way. Ha!
And we are back, episode 200, Better on Draft Podcast. I wish there was a button where I could just like turn on all the mics at once, as opposed to
Is there a
like,
bicentennial logo?
No, just one. Of them.
no, there's to be what. Whoever did that is.
Good work.
You should have.
It's like summer in a glass.
I mean,
Yeah,
Is he muted?
yeah, he is muted. He's in timeout. He's in timeout. Rob,
Yeah.
Rob's got something to talk about real
got
quick
mad
before we
reach.
continue.
all right, do you have time to talk about Tavor? I'm not going
I've seen a few posts of people like all their beer they bought on Tavor, and I'm like, oh man.
And Tavor has been a very expensive venture for some of us that are out there.
A hobby?
A hobby of sorts. But for those who don't know, Tavor is a beer delivery service, which they have an app available on iTunes and Android where you can pick some beers, pay whatever the price are for those beers, and no matter how much you buy, you can get all of those beers shipped to you for the low, low price of $14.90.
Shit to you?
Shipped to you.
Shipped.
Shit or shat or shipped. One way or the other.
Cheated.
It's getting to you. Shitted. It's getting to you one way or the other. So normally, I know with a couple of things we've had going on with the last few weeks, I started doing this thing called the Taste of Tavor every Tuesday, because it would be Tavor Tuesday, that I would let our listeners pick one of the beers that we would drink. So I figured actually with us, now that we have a round table of 7, that we can actually take a pick of which one I'm going to open here. So I've got two choices. It's either the Emerald Grouper that is from Pipeworks Brewing Company.
I'm sorry. I don't know why that's funny. Grouper is fish. What? I don't know. I'm sorry, Rob. Go on.
I have no idea what the hell.
I'm sorry too. You just got muted, Nick.
All right, so from Pipeworks Brewing, the Emerald Grouper, which is a Imperial IPA with honey and citra hops.
Oh my god.
And there is the from Woodland Empire is called After the Love Is Gone, is a Mexican mocha lager.
Yes.
Which is a Hellas lager brewed with raw cocoa,
Yep.
cold
Yeah.
brewed coffee, ancho chilies, lactose, cinnamon, and vanilla.
Let's not
That's a lot
have
of
the,
words.
What happens after the love is
So-
gone? 'Cause I'll take it.
Yeah, let's not have
Is
the
that what the
fish.
lights go
Have
down?
that one.
There's not a living soul around?
Turn out the lights. All right, so
Okay, Kanye.
shit, I missed the old Kanye.
What's he changing his name to?
Some billionaire,
Genius billionaire,
Christian
Playboy
Jesus.
philanthropist.
He is finally going to take into consideration that we used to make fun of him and call him Yeezus, and all the
Yeah.
craft beer fans, the CBYs, the craft beer Yeezuses.
So when
So
we
he is now going to be known as the craft beer
beer
Yeezus.
when we do this show come election 2024, will we really be using that a lot more now? Is what we're saying?
Oh,
We're going to quit in 2023. Is that what it means?
It might be.
so Rob,
Episode 400.
So starting with Matt, which one are we going with? Your pick.
I want to drink I want to say the grouper so I can take the other one home. So vote grouper.
This is Grouper. Nick.
I want to go with no.
You want grouper
no,
for the name.
no, you don't want the grouper. Do the Mexican one.
All right, Mexican lager. Ken.
I'm going to do the one with the 1,800 words, the make love, not war.
After
love
the
is
love
gone.
is gone.
With
That's
cocoa and
two there.
Is
lactose
this
and
Woodstock or
lactose-free lactose and vanilla.
Lactose-free lactose.
I don't know. He said a lot of words. I kind of tuned him out.
All right,
I'm
Eric.
going when the love is gone.
When the love is
Oh,
gone.
3-1. There we go.
Love it, baby.
Let's go.
That's yeah.
Let's drink
That's
that
fair.
Overwhelming.
So Rob is going to be passing that
Emerald
around.
Grouper.
Matt, I hear we got Michigan Beer Box is going to be shipping out on Sunday.
So we go to print Monday. So orders end
Pass it out.
this weekend.
I have to finish
First
this. I have to
time,
finish this twisted tea.
first time subscribers who use the code November get a T-shirt box for only $20 this weekend only. So we have a great Michigan brewery that is celebrating their 3rd anniversary this week or in the very near future.
That is not the color I expected of this beer, by the way.
Has been on the show multiple times.
What
time.
the hell is that? Are you serious?
That's what you picked. It's a lager.
That's-
I mean, shouldn't it
It's
be
a lager? I thought it was a stout.
I said it was a lager.
He did say Hellas
Damn
Lager.
you, Roger.
Mocha lager.
Who the fuck is Roger?
Roger.
Come on.
It's a movie line.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 3rd anniversary, they've been on the show once.
Wedding
At
Crashers?
least.
Never saw it.
You've never
And,
seen Wedding
um,
Crashers?
No.
Oh, God. That's a different
So
conversation.
we're sending out long sleeve tees this month.
Long sleeve tees.
So keep you warm in the cold months.
Nice.
So we're gonna keep it up, and so yeah. So go to mybeerbox.com,
MIBeerbox.com.
mybeerbox.com.
He did? Am I the last one?
Code November.
I don't know if
gets you
John
your
got
first
it.
T-shirt box
Or is
for
that-
$20
is that the-
this
Are you
month.
putting a razor in there for No Shave November?
No, I'm just growing the pedo stash for no reason.
I didn't say for you.
You got a little,
I got the
the
file.
little Minshew Mayfield going on right now.
Oh, Minshew Mania.
Minshew Mania. Uncle Rico.
Dude, what a... Honestly, talk about just a...
He got benched
awesome,
this week.
Which
Nick
is
Foles is
bullshit.
back.
Homie
Yeah.
went 4-4. Dude.
Nick Foles will get benched halfway through the next game.
Bingo.
Minshew Mania. I think Minshew Mania is a real thing.
Minshew Magic.
Dude.
Minshew Magic.
I
he's,
felt
he's the next Ryan
I
Fitzpatrick.
felt like,
No, you know what? They're gonna Dallas is gonna cut Dak Prescott, pick up Minshew.
shit,
They're not cutting Dak Prescott. Are you
whoa.
kidding me?
No way.
They're
not
going
gonna
to give him like a 5-year, $150 million
Jerry
extension.
Jones is going to
You are
basically give
drugs.
Dak his
I,
check.
I
right,
don't
we're-
I don't advocate for it. I'm telling
not
you
gonna
that's what's going to happen.
All right, okay, we're getting
Cam
off.
Newton or Gardner
The
Minshew?
football
Sorry.
conversation is
Sorry.
over because I've got $50 to Zatuna Liquor to give away too.
Let's
Oh,
go.
and so I won it. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you didn't. You were disqualified
Hit
from
me,
everything.
fucker.
You know what you won, Nick? You won that Better on Draft glass you could take home.
That is true.
These glasses are definitely
yeah,
fire.
no,
I love
the
them.
wife,
Chicken
wife
dinner.
and I do need more glassware. So.
You should subscribe to My Beer Box.
like
They
it.
have a glass.
I like
That
it.
is true. You can go
There
to
you
my
go.
beer box and
You
get
little
some
twat.
glassware.
So the $50 gift card to Zatuna Liquor, which is located on Rochester Road, just south of M59. Go say hi to Jack. Just make sure you don't start the full conversation because you'll be there for an hour and a half.
We love you, Jack.
We do love Jack. Jack is a great guy, very knowledgeable. Definitely the kind of person where you can tell him you like one beer, and 6 months later, when you show up a second time, he'll know exactly
do
what
you-
you're
do you
looking
need
for. Your winner is going to be Joshua Woodbury. Damn it. Joshua, reach out to us on Better on Draft. Give us your address. We will mail you the card. Congratulations.
You also want to give away a My Beer Box too? That ships out this week.
No.
Do we have enough people? No. Okay, cool.
No. The people that have been listening, it's been in and out. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll do something when we post the live show and promote it. So, yeah, we'll do that. We'll post the live show tomorrow, and we'll give away within 24 hours because we need to know by Sunday.
Monday morning, yeah, sure.
Yeah, 24 hours. We'll give away a My Beer Box for someone who's listening. That's potentially on the archive, who's not necessarily listening live. I mean, Friday nights. It's always hard to get people out on Friday nights, except for you guys. It's really easy.
I think this is the first time John Piperrock's been out of his shell in 7 months or so.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been out of my shell. You're right. Yep.
I used to write poetry on the bathroom stall for him, and he used to respond to
You
it.
really are a 14-year-old girl.
Thank you very much.
Now we have a panel of very knowledgeable people in the industry and Aaron.
Damn.
Damn.
Wow.
I know cider. I know cider like
Usually
the back
that's
of my
my
hand.
Usually that's what I take.
Extra special guest. You get abused.
Yeah.
You know-
he used to be insider.
We've been doing the show for 4 years. The one thing I want to ask you guys is that in 4 years it's going to be 2023. You have a crystal ball. What do you think is going to be happening in the industry? Do you think we're going to see a little bit of a recession in regards to breweries coming down? Do you think there's going to be a new trend that stays or that is hotter than the New England IPA? Like, what is something, or maybe a wish list? What is something that you want in the industry that maybe you need to push a little harder, or maybe you need to rub your clout of being a former Brewers Guild president and be like, we should probably do this.
We go into hiding. That's what we do.
But yeah, 2023, like we talked about it. We want to do a huge festival, like a huge craft beverage festival in the state of Michigan.
At Jimmy John's Field.
Stop.
Again, not that
Where
field
the
is.
fuck are you gonna park in the city of Utica?
They have a giant field
Listen,
And Dave and Buster's.
Hey, you
Parking's
can park at my house. It's a 10-minute bike.
on Hall Road. Just park on Hall
off
Road. 'cause
thousands
That's
of
how you
people.
drive on Hall Road, anyways.
Everybody will
Easy
just
easy.
everyone will just park at Dave and Buster's, and they'll just
Shuttle,
Oh,
yeah.
over.
See,
I'll
for
swear.
me, if I had a magic ball, I could be able to change. I would want a lot more true to style beers as prominent SKUs in the industry.
Thank you.
Sure.
I want more, and not even necessarily like I love my alts and my but
didn't say.
I want Dunkels, I want ESBs, I want these beers to where when I go to a beer bar, I go to a Hopcat or something, it's not 80 taps of IPAs or pale ales and then 40 of every other style in the world.
80 different styles of Crooked Tree.
That was 130.
Whatever.
But again, like I would love to see a lot more true to style beers. I think people would start to appreciate it a lot more given the opportunity to drink them.
I have a projection. I think breweries are going to economize in that when you currently go to a brewery, you're spending $5, $6, $7 for a pint. I think that's going to adjust to $3, $4,
No.
maybe $5
No.
a pint.
No.
I mean, like
Nope.
734 is the only brewery I know of that has
impossible.
prices that low. And
Products are
no
product
one,
prices are going up.
no one.
What the fuck is this?
Did you try that Tavor beer, by the way? Is that what you're talking about? Or
God.
I have a lot of words and I can't put them together.
So
Doesn't taste any different than anything else you can get out there all
I
over the
thought
place.
this was
so.
the one that was.
It's a
when I
Helles
smelled it-
lager.
when I smelled it, I thought in my brain,
You
is
also
this
dealt
the
it?
one that was called something grouper because it smells like fish?
Groupers right here.
Let's try the grouper next.
Maybe that's your glass.
Bet the grouper's delicious then.
It's the leftover
the
twisted
fish
tea
beer.
in your
Yeah,
glass.
this
just-
beer
Oh, there
is
was no leftover tea in my glass.
Just so you know,
trust
the
me.
reason I said that is because cost of goods aren't going down.
That's exactly it.
Cost
But
of cans
people
and
buying-
aluminum are not going
No,
down.
just
either.
everything in general. If cost of goods were going down, I'd agree with you. Nothing's going down. Nothing will go down.
Well, and look at the agricultural
Except
aspect
your
of beer
mom.
as well, which is the majority of it.
Dude, Kelly Langton's
Wow,
gonna kick your
perfect.
ass. Actually, Mike Langton's gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna send that blonde haired man over. He's gonna.
Sorry, I love you guys. Anyway,
But
Agriculture, John Piepenbrock,
With
go.
with the proliferation of states legalizing not only medical but recreational marijuana, and people with lots of money, large corporations buying up land that is currently used to grow other crops to grow potentially marijuana,
Blake's.
you're going to have a lot fewer acres of barley, wheat for beers that use it, rice for Budweiser, boo-hoo,
Cuts down production, cuts
Corn
down
for
supply,
and
increases
and
demand.
corn for almost every other brewery, at least in some aspects, and hops as well. I mean, not only that, the labor costs are going up.
But I don't
So-
think.
No. John brings up a very, very interesting point.
No, he doesn't.
because- Yes,
He
no,
never
no, he
does.
really, really does.
Every once in a
goddamn
while.
John.
No,
serious,
fuck up.
I love
No, because all right, everyone knows that I work for a specific utility industry. And
3 letters.
Yeah. or 4.
Scamcast.
lots of grow
Yeah,
lights.
scam.
Owners of
cast.
Pine Knob.
And it's no surprise
always
that
Pine
in
Knob.
the state of Michigan that the marijuana, the passing of recreational or medical marijuana is going to play a huge role, especially with the vast farmlands as we work your way further north towards the thumb and out west and even into towards northwest, towards TC, Traverse City. That's going to play a huge role. And we're starting to see that as it's no surprise. We're starting to see that in the economy, but as a provider to to those that need to grow, it's going to play a role, and that's going to play a role as people get away from traditional farming. It's going to happen. As to what the impact is going to be, that I think we've yet to see that because it's still very, very early in its infant stages. the money is in where the weed is at. Unfortunately,
I just don't
more
think-
money is there than any other traditional crop.
The money's not going to follow there until it becomes some sort of banking system, or until it becomes.
It's banking and it's regulation. Because right now the regulations are not in place to do any of this shit.
That's why I still think there's more time before.
There might be. You could be very true about
But
that.
the prices of raw materials are substantially higher today than they were one calendar year ago.
But there's
so
you've got places
why would prices lessen
Oh, hold on.
for any reason?
because there
hold
are more
on.
breweries.
No.
It doesn't work like
It has
that.
nothing to do with it. Yeah.
We
No,
don't just
here's-
snap our
here's-
fingers and grain appears.
Here's the thing, and I think this is what we're going to see. And I think Andrew Parr in our chat makes a good point. And I think we're not necessarily the cost of goods are going to go up, but I think we're going to see the sizes of alcohol and packaging go down.
It'd be like the
Excellent.
Coca-Cola baby cans.
I love it.
I think we're going
I
to get
actually kinda
down
like those
to
cans,
like
honestly.
lesser 16s, lesser bombers, lesser 23s, and like almost downsizing, like all the bombers down to 16s, 16s to 12s, 12s to 8s.
But that's been happening for 3 years
It
already.
really has been. The bomber is almost extinct.
It's been dead.
Thank
But
you.
I think it's going to keep going and keep going smaller. I think we as a consumer want small.
Muted.
Oh boy.
We as a community want smaller packaging. We want people who are buying the beer. I don't want to buy a whole less beer, or maybe I don't want to drink an entire beer.
But
I
only
don't
for
want to.
high ABV beers, though. Not
But
for the
not,
general.
not necessarily. I mean, you could
Right.
still do a 2-hearted or like that French toast, whatever. That's 8%. That's
But
not
I'm saying,
considered.
like,
Keep that in a bottle.
like in Florida, they make a loose case of 24-ounce or 24-pack cans in 8-ounce cans. They don't do them 24-pack, 12-ounce cans. They do 24 8-ounce cans.
I would love that.
That is the biggest bummer in the world. Thinking I just bought a 24-pack for $15, and then you pick it up and it's like half the size of your palm, and then you realize you just bought 8-ounces.
Well, by packaging.
Yeah, but it's hot as balls down there. You need to slam a beer real quick before
gosh.
it gets warm.
So, but by packaging beer into smaller cans, is that going to make breweries go less? Try and pack more into that little punch then?
Distro guys, real quick.
Well, the sad thing is the small cans cost more than the big cans.
And
No
distro guys,
shit,
you
really?
know this. For
I don't know about
pricing,
that.
for
I- I-
pricing,
Pricing, I can tell you. Right
pricing,
now.
you guys
I
know.
call on all the strip clubs now, so I don't know if that's the case.
Make sure you get their White Claws, right?
You guys know
What size cans do you
$13.99,
have?
$14.99 is like a sweet spot
For what?
for like a 12-pack.
Well, especially in Michigan, where every can has a fucking deposit, and then you have tax.
So my point is for even for these 8-ounce cans, no one's going $10.99 for a 12-pack of 8-ounce.
I'm not.
No, because honestly, they're doing the opposite. They've got
You got
8-pack 16-ounce now that are like $10.99. So they're doing the opposite of less
Everyone's
cans,
going-
bigger cans. They're not doing They're not doing what's the antithesis of
Look,
more
I'm
cans.
sensing Aaron disagrees with you like 100.
No, I think we're on the same. No, we're
Are you guys on the
yeah.
same
no,
page?
you guys are
No.
saying
I'm-
the same
okay.
thing,
No,
just in
we are.
different ways.
Different way. Okay.
I'm
More
saying in the
less
future,
cans,
I
bigger
want-
size. Ken's thinking smaller size, more cans.
Okay.
but it's not gonna. Nothing's gonna be.
Am I wrong?
John's.
Jesus.
You guys
Christ.
are all children.
Yes.
That's why we don't know why you get us back here.
Eric and I decided
I don't
years
know
ago
either.
that
This is
the
why
two
you bring
of
them
us
on
are
for 200
perpetually 12.
episode 10.
Dude,
Well, that's
putting
weird.
them together is a great scene.
This is what happens when you allow John to bring Twisted Tea in a Franzia box.
Dude, I'll
You
be
guys
honest.
brought a fucking Mexican
Hey,
Idaho
it's
beer
this
that,
guy
that
over
tastes
here.
like fish.
You
and
fucking
you brought a
voted for
beer
it.
with a fish on the label that actually tastes like a
Yeah,
beer.
that's
Yeah, it's
actually
actually
really
really
hoppy.
good.
That's a hoppy beer.
You,
That's a solid beer.
Yeah. Did you try that one yet?
you voted for it.
Did you drink your fish?
We did, but it's all our fault.
I like.
I voted based on
I
name
truthfully
alone.
like the other one. I like the crazy thing with the 10,000 names.
But did you?
I was
try
gonna
the
say,
fish
yeah,
beer?
Nick,
Yeah, it's right
Nick
here.
was the one that wanted grouper.
The crazy thing
I
with
like the
10,000
grouper.
names had a
No,
weird.
Matt
like-
wanted grouper. I didn't want grouper.
Where's the grouper beer from again?
Pipeworks.
Where's Pipeworks?
What's-
Chicago.
Chicago.
Great,
Okay.
great
Shout out to
brewery.
Pipeworks. Hell
Great
yes.
brewery. Fuck
So no
yeah.
one
Hell
ever,
yes.
no one else ever answered your question, Ken.
I named.
About what we
I'd
think's happening.
predict-
in
Well, I was
2023.
kind of
Cheaper beer price at
letting
the
you
brewery.
guys make your thoughts
industry
while we
experts.
answered the
We
questions.
went- we
It's a
went in a
$3 mass
big,
lager
big
at the
circle.
brewery.
Industry experts first.
No, don't say that.
What'd you say?
The
don't-
$3
I don't see
cream
that.
ale
No.
at the brewery.
A cream ale, yes. Definitely not a lager.
No,
not a
okay,
lager.
okay.
Yeah.
But like the $3 like entry level ale at a brewery.
Yeah,
At
but
every
even
single brewery.
Even a light lager drinker is not going to drink a cream ale. He'll drink it because it's his only option at that time.
It's the lightest option he can drink.
But I think it's
But
for
then he'll
conversion.
go to the dive bar
but
next door and
the dive bars
drink
are
a
going
banquet.
away. The dive bar is going away.
No,
Tudges is going to die.
I will
Tudges is
support.
dead.
I will support them till I die.
That's Tudges.
Okay, boomer.
Then I will just take my ass.
Oh, hey, flip the table right now.
Hey, by the way, I'm
Whoa,
totally
whoa.
kidding.
You gotta
I'm
flip. You gotta
I'm
watch.
totally kidding.
You gotta watch.
I'm totally kidding.
You gotta watch the
Rage
hard
Panda
R.
GIF
You
right
gotta
now.
watch the hard R. It's gotta be an A. You can't.
We
you
said we were
can't
talking about this before you
do
got
that.
here. We were talking about this before you got
Okay.
here.
Can't
So
do
hold
that.
on. Before we go and we get answers, you triggered my phone by saying "Okay, boomer."
Are you trying to text Nick's dog?
No, I'm not trying to text anything. It heard you say "Okay, Google." I'm like, why is this screen? Oh, that's what happened.
I don't see the dive bar going away because there's still so many people who just drink yellow beer and just want the Coors, wants the Bud Light, and those aren't going away. So your tappers or whatever is going away, then they'll take their ass to Ye Old Saloon.
And
You
look,
know, I like
they're
the
gonna go-
dive.
they're
I
gonna
like
go-
the dive bar concept, and you can still go there and drink good beer.
yeah, the
Yeah.
dive bar does just because it's a
it's-
dive bar does not
Yeah.
mean you have to drink yellow fizzy
Shout
American
out to
light
Lager
lager.
House.
And I will say I drink Miller
Yeah.
High Life when I go to Tappers, but
Yeah, Lager House is a
John-
great example.
John's so happy.
Yield Saloon's a great example.
Yeah.
Gasoline Alley's a great example.
But I don't think- I don't
Whiskey
think
in a
you-
Jar is a fantastic example. I mean, shit.
But I think they're like, I disagree with your
Description of a
definition
dive bar.
of a dive bar. Then
Well, what's your definition?
What's your
I,
definition?
I,
Matt?
I
Let's hear
honest
it.
to God, would have not called Gasoline Alley a dive bar.
I wouldn't consider.
Gasoline Alley used to be a dive bar. I wouldn't say it's as much of a dive bar now.
I wouldn't consider Yield
it's
Tap Room
Milo.
a dive bar either.
What about a hole in a
Yield
wall?
Tap Room was.
No, it's not a dive bar anymore either. It hasn't been a dive bar in like 6 or 8 years.
it's all about decor and. It's
I think
better
decor
outcome,
plays.
but,
I think decor plays a part of it, but
Maybe
I think
that's
the
the next thing.
price.
What do you consider a dive
yeah,
bar? I
true.
think that's the next conversation. I think a dive bar is dollar beers, 50-cent shots, urine on the floor.
Well, Aaron, you're the youngest one here.
Oh,
What's a
all right.
dive bar to you?
I know what a place is.
Sounds like
Okay.
Harpo's.
Oh my god.
No, that sounds like getting robbed. Fuck that.
Getting stabbed.
You know, a dive bar to me is. God, I don't know. How do you say this without like offending anybody?
dark lights.
Good luck. John
No-
already,
no
John already
windows.
offended
Why did you
everybody.
look at Rob when you said that?
I didn't look at Rob and say, "How do you do this without offending anybody?"
Wait, no windows? Okay.
No windows.
I got a place.
Yeah,
Dimly
I was
lamp.
gonna say no, but then you'd almost say like, if that's the classification, Red Coat Tavern, which has the best burgers ever, would be like a dive bar.
Better
But
than
they're-
Yeah, they're up there.
You know what I
Do
mean?
they have
But it
Old
doesn't
Milwaukee
no,
or
no,
Busch
it don't-
Light
no,
on
no
tap?
kitchen.
But no, that's what
no
I'm saying.
kitchen,
It can't have a
Nope.
kitchen.
It's got to have like an
have-
immediate
okay,
like.
all right, okay.
It
and
might
it's
have
got to
a
be
griddle in
super
the,
cheap.
might have a
for a
griddle in the
dive bar,
corner.
right?
with
Now,
some,
now,
like-
They gotta have a kitchen. Tappers is
hold
Taco
on,
Tuesday, man.
Hold on. Because I'm gonna come with a style of kitchen that might be like Victory Inn over in Warren, where it's a walk-up kitchen and they yell your
It's
name out like
outstanding.
it's a fucking bowling alley.
like the Park Bar in Detroit used to be when Bucharest was in.
Park Bar is so nice now.
Yeah,
I would
used to-
I would have
used
never
to be.
thought
Never
it
was
was
a
a
dive
dive
bar.
bar.
I haven't been there. I would say, to be honest, you know what I would say is a dive bar, going off of the no food or anything like that. Pre-construction Luna before they closed, but
my
they turned into a bro
Oh my
bar.
God.
That
Oh
was a
God.
dive bar.
Well, that was
That was too like a.
that was also
No, before
Thursdays.
before they had the top 40 type
No,
music.
it used to be Tuesday nights in industry night.
Here's the
Luna
deal.
or not industry night, the alternative night. That's
I'm
what-
talking like Luna 2008.
All right,
Oh no, that's before me.
here's
Oh,
here's
no,
what I call a
that's
dive bar.
After
Okay.
me.
Here's what I call a dive bar.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't go to bars anymore.
Matt's
I've got a blanket
talking.
statement that we can call a dive bar.
All right.
It's an AMVETS, a VFW that's open to the public. That's a dive bar.
No.
Yes.
No,
An
it's a
AMVETS
bar that
or
has bumper
VFW
stickers on all the urinal dividers on the sides of the booths.
VFW.
It's
Yeah.
a bar that
don't
probably
care.
doesn't even have
They don't like-
dividers
all right,
between
they
the
don't-
years.
All right, so my suggestion.
It's like a
How you
VFW,
doing?
but it's
Okay,
open to
you
the
gotta-
general public.
All right, so my suggestion would have been Waldenberg Bar on
God.
Romeo Plank
Oh
on
my
22
God.
miles.
Yes, probably.
That minus the food because you can get food, but
The
that
Kit
is
Kat Club.
What's
The
Kit
Kit Kat
Kat
Club.
Club?
Okay, Kit Kat Club.
Goldies. I've never been to Kit Kat Club. Goldies would be another one, but it has windows.
I don't know. It's
So are-
Waldenberg.
and it has golden
like
tea.
the front door is like one of those doors like straight out of Cool Hand Luke. Like when you open that,
It's a
damn
freaking
thing,
screen
it
door.
It is a screen door. It is. Yes.
And it's on an old school. I mean, yeah, there's it's an intersection with a four-way with the traffic signal, but it looks like
wood paneling still
wood
in there. And
paneling.
everything?
Okay, yes.
Here's a good one for you. John will like this one. Do you think Jacoby's is a dive bar?
No.
No.
I consider that dive
It's a
bar
full
based
restaurant.
on its decor.
It's a restaurant.
But it's based on its decor.
No.
That's what I consider a
So,
dive type.
I was-
What
So-
about
so-
what about Jamboozies?
No, that's too hip and new.
Okay,
man.
I was just asking.
No,
All right, so
I would say based on
two-way
decor.
in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring it in because I
then-
found obviously everyone uses eater.com as
Downtown
a
Louis.
a website for trust, and they have from 2019 the best dive bars of Detroit.
Okay.
So we probably haven't been to all of these. I've been to a few of them as I kind of recognize where they are. Abix.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
That's
Literally,
on
yeah, never heard either.
Gilbert Street in Detroit. Donovan's
Southwest.
Pub on Verner.
A million times.
I've heard of it.
Lovely place.
I would think anything on Werner is a dive bar.
LJ's Lounge. It's right
Never-
next to Gold
Hell
Cash
yes.
Gold
Never
on
heard of it.
Michigan
Temple
Ave.
Bar?
Never heard of it.
Hold on, I'm going through
Long
this
known
list.
as Slow's waiting room. For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slows
That makes sense.
Nancy Whiskies.
Never heard of it.
A gazillion
Hell
freaking
yeah,
times.
I've been there. I know that one.
Temple Bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard it. Well, definitely have heard of that one.
Jumbo's
right,
Bar
my
on
fingers
3rd
in
Street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Cass
heard of that.
Corridor?
Yep, 2 in the Cass Corridor.
Here's one that I think will start a lot of discussion. The Old Miami.
Yes.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Bronx Bar.
Well-
The Bronx Bar. That's the perfect kitchen to have.
All
is
right,
the
stop.
Bronx
We're
Bar.
talking about the old Miami
All
right
right,
now.
so
Slow your roll, homie.
as a former,
Easy.
Show some respect.
all right, so I lived. Ken, I lived 2 feet away from the old Miami.
Is it your feet or like usual feet?
Or like,
Can we mute him,
that's
please?
a late dig, but that is a dig.
So I lived at the corner of 2nd and Alexandrian. It was a dilapidated old pink house, which is a fraternity house, but it's since been repainted.
Oh hell yeah.
Not undelapidated.
Yeah,
just
it's
just
it
painted.
actually
Dilapidated.
did get renovated on the outside, so it
have
looks a
one of
hell of a lot better.
Did you have
Matt,
one of those
and
holes?
Matt,
in
you're
the-
muted. Matt, you're muted.
So I've been to the old Miami a handful of times, all during my undergrad. I agree and I disagree if we're using the same definitions we've been talking about at this table.
Well,
talking about
and-
the decor. The decor, yes. The windows, no. But you got that big ass backyard.
Shit, the
but-
bikers showing up is enough. For
What's
me.
that?
This is the bikers showing up.
So,
every
but
once in a
believe it or
while.
so the
I
few
have to
times that
ask
I've been
you,
there-
like what time frame are we talking about? Like what year?
So I graduated my undergrad in 2012.
Okay.
But I've been to the old Miami maybe once or twice more since. I don't make it Midtown, unfortunately.
No,
as much
no,
as I-
no, fine.
So maybe once in like 15 or 16, and maybe again, probably let's say both times in that 15, 16 time frame.
And the only
So
reason
recent.
I ask is because prior to the resurgence that we've seen in Midtown
Yes.
over the last decade, maybe 12 years.
I would cap it at the last decade.
Yeah, prior to that, I mean, it was still a war zone down there. It was
yes.
it was hookers and dealers, and
Yes.
there were needles everywhere.
Yep.
And the dive bars were the only safe places you could go.
Yep.
The bars, because all the bars were inherently dive bars.
So I remember when I went to I graduated Wayne State in 2012, but I started in 2008. Go Tartars! I remember the first night that I went to that same fraternity house, the one I lived in for 3+ years, down the street from the old Miami. The first night I went there was a fucking hooker at the fucking right there at the intersection, right down the street from the.
I remember her.
You remember her? No. Yeah, I'm sure you don't. Yeah, but it was in September, so it was 80 degrees outside, and I had my window down, and this girl's like hollering at me from the intersection. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It was like
All right, so we're gonna go with the rest of this list, and then we're gonna talk about this beer that we just poured here.
like half culture shock.
Bronx Bar.
See, that's the kitchen I'm talking
Bronx
about.
Bar,
in
did
the
you say?
brewery.
Bronx
Bar over
Yeah,
there.
that's
That's
fair.
on second.
Yup.
Third, I think.
Yeah.
Marshall's
Or third,
Bar.
yeah.
Yes.
Where's Marshall's Bar?
It's
Marshall's?
on
Oh
East
my
Jefferson
God.
by Grosse Pointe
You
Park.
can
No.
row your boat up to Marshall's Bar.
Row
no
your
shit.
boat. What is
It's
this?
on the
Okay,
the Alter
PJ.
Canal.
Oh, beach.
Okay.
Okay.
My Dad's Bar on Kercheval.
Yep.
My dad's bar. Okay.
The Painted Lady on Jacob in Hamtramck.
Oh hell yeah.
I've heard of that one.
Whiskey in the Jar, Hamtramck.
Never heard of that place.
John has a cot behind the whiskey in the jar.
I have a key in an
And
alarm
I feel like this needs to be. This is just on every single Detroit bar list. The 2-way in. on
Fuck
Mount
yeah.
Elliott.
It's the oldest bar in the entire city of Detroit.
I thought Jacoby's was.
So
No,
from
the
from
Two-Way
the
Inn was built as a bar in 1862.
I just.
from the chat, when the regulars turn and look at
1641.
you because you're not their own, that's a dive bar to
Aaron
this
and I were
person.
talking.
Ooh, I like that one. That's a good. No, I like
Marty's
that
in
one.
Mount Pleasant.
As long as the turning your head to look is not in judgment, because
It's just like we don't know who
that's
you are.
yeah, and that's totally fine, and that's expected in a hole in the wall place.
Again, like a VFW. or
No windows, still smells like smoke from pre-no smoking days,
Yeah.
and
That's-
carpet that
I
hasn't
like-
been changed since
that's
the
a
80s.
good one.
Some of the bars on that list
Again.
don't know what pre-smoking days are.
Very true.
Very
Okay,
much
so
qualifies
I'm-
those dive bars.
Still allow
I'm
them to
skipping to
smoke, yeah.
one because I'm going to ask bathroom trough and reusable towel roll.
Again.
Oh, I remember both of. Oh, well, the
Again,
trough is still kind of
and that's
prevalent in
cool.
some places,
And
but the
every-
reusable towel.
So the
There
Silverdome.
are still a few places
Joe
that have
Lucerino?
the reusable
Yeah, the Joe.
towel thing.
Oh
Rest in
God,
peace.
Cintas.
how does it even have? I don't.
A great Cintas
That's
salesman.
that's why little 8-pound 2-ounce baby Jesus invented pants. Dry your hands on your pants.
On your pants. Oh. That towel gets you pink eye. Those got that shit.
Now,
Knock on wood.
we just poured a beer,
about
and this is an NA beer, and I think this is the current trend. That's kind
What
of
the fuck did I just drink?
this is Eric. Why don't you talk about it?
Johnny, give
This
me.
is just a non-alcoholic IPA,
Excuse me.
What?
Eh,
What's the ABV on it?
0.5.
less than 0.5%.
quite freaking tasty.
I think it came back at like 0.25 or 0.3%. So this is made by Two Roots Brewing Company,
That's
which
really
is
sweet.
the parent company that just acquired Rochester Mills Production
Wow.
Brewery.
Oh,
So now here's the thing.
I'm getting a little bitter at the end, but it's very sweet on the first
I
like
would
shot.
not confuse this for an IPA.
So when
No, I
beers
wouldn't
get de-alked, they go through some pretty abusive process, and you lose a lot of flavor and aroma. So there's a lot of process to make it taste the way it does after that. So when you taste non-alcoholic beers, you can't compare them to a regular beer. That's what I keep getting confused with. I want to say, oh, it says it's an IPA. I want to taste it against an IPA. Well, it doesn't taste like your favorite IPA.
So do you brew it like an IPA and then take out the alcohol, or do you just
Yes.
like not allow the alcohol in first and then?
No, it's brewed like a traditional beer, fermented, hopped like a traditional IPA. And this is just one example. There's other beers too. And then after the de-alk process, it goes back in a tank, gets dry hopped again, and there's other things that they do to manipulate the flavor or add different things to make it taste better than O'Doul's, I guess.
I'm getting almost like a butter flavor. Like a butter? No. Maybe it's all the beer that's been in this class, but
I think that was that fucking mole love thing or whatever the hell it was.
The 18-word.
That was 16 beers ago, John. Get over it.
It's hard, man. That was buttery fish.
So Two Roots they have 5 different flavors or 4 different core beers of NA beers. They do a lager, which won a gold medal at the GABF this year. They do an IPA style. Then they do one that's called Straight Drank, which is supposed to taste a little bit like cannabis, but doesn't have any cannabis in it. They do a wheat beer, which we also have some samples of here, called Tropical Infamy. And then they have a mango IPA. So they're NA beers. These are going to be starting to hit the market in second quarter of 2020.
what kind of packaging do they fit in? Are they 6-packers? Are they
There's 6-packs of
singles?
12-ounce sleek cans.
Bowling pins,
So they're 12-ounce cans, but it'll be a 6-pack.
like a White Claw.
Yeah, that's
A
the
white
hard
what?
seltzer can right there.
Never heard of that.
So what is the goal customer on a package like this? Are you trying to get the non-drinker? Are you trying to get somebody who's like trying to cut calories or cut down ABV?
And
What's
this is 120 calories.
It's
still.
it's a little bit of everything. I mean, you guys had Shannon Long on here last week. I think she's been huge into NA beers lately, and she's been going all over the country.
She's
looking for NA
she's
beers.
going to be on the show in January when we do Dry January.
So she's actually all about that. I know that we've had a bunch of other people in the beer industry that have just kind of cut back on drinking because that's what we do for a living. We're always in the beer industry, and sometimes it takes a toll on you, makes you feel like shit in the morning. So looking for people who still want to socialize, have a product that hopefully tastes like beer. You can sit there and socialize with it and not feel like I'm drinking another water, I'm drinking another pop, I'm drinking, or I'm sitting in the corner not drinking anything, just waiting till people are done having a good time to drive them home.
Eating mozzarella sticks.
And I mean, anybody that works, you guys both been in the wholesale industry, and as far as from a distributor standpoint, all the reports are showing that they think that NA products as a whole over the next 5 years is supposed to double, which right now it's so minuscule. So doubling, a penny is 2 pennies, but it's growing, and there's definitely an interest. There's a couple different breweries. Athletic Brewing Company out east is doing
Great
NA
things.
beer.
Yeah.
That's a Boston Beer Company
great
brand, though, isn't it?
No,
I don't think it's independent.
That you're thinking of a different thing that is not.
Marathon
So there
beer,
are several
whatever.
other ones that are coming out with NA beers, and so Two Roots brand, they're looking to. They have. I mean, the projections we're getting told for what we're going to be doing at Rochester Mills facility next year will probably quadruple our beer production next year.
Holy shit. Is
And
that going to
that-
be
and
in
I
the
really
state, or
like
is it
the
gonna be
packaging.
national?
The packaging is sharp as hell.
And that's for all just throughout the Midwest and the East Coast, but that's what our facility will be producing on top of the Rochester Mills brands.
Now, what kind of shelf life is on these things? Typical
It's
beer
all
is
pasteurized product.
1 million
so
years.
whenever, right?
A billion fajillion years. Good thing I have headphones on, douche.
Yeah, for God's sakes.
And this is also the base beer that they use for infusing products. So they're selling CBD and THC infused products out west right now.
Those gonna
Obviously,
come to Michigan?
as the laws change throughout states, cannabis can't cross over state lines. So any time a product is sold in a state, it's got to be infused in that state. So the goal is, I think, for the company to offer these products in Michigan at some point next year. Rochester Mills will only be making the base beer, then it'll be shipped out to someplace else that will infuse it and package it, and then it'll only be available in dispensaries. So you aren't going to find it in grocery stores.
Do you see that law getting changed?
Pardon?
Do you see that law of being able to infuse beer with THC changing?
Well, it's already legal. It's got to be non-alcoholic. I don't see that changing.
No, I know, but by state to state.
Yeah, well, I think that just like it wasn't legal a year ago in Michigan, now it's legal to buy recreational marijuana. So,
But didn't they just pass a law right before we voted to legalize marijuana to not allow alcohol to be infused with THC? I thought that was one of the
That was almost right
literally the week
after the
before.
vote.
It was right before the vote, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it was it was before
Some
it.
dude
that-
from
I think that's a national
Jesus
rule, though.
Okay, yeah, shout out to Ale Mary's. They were the first to use sprig with alcohol, and
Well, they were the first
They
to
were doing
advertise it. and
yeah, they were
all
doing
the
the
first to get
CBD.
slapped.
fair, but they were the first one to really you
Yeah.
heard about it, right?
Yeah.
So, as of right now, I think the rule is you won't ever see THC products anywhere alcohol sold. But, obviously, I don't know about the CBD, but just like the rules on whether or not it was legal to even have or recreational marijuana has been changing. Give it 5 years, who knows what the rules are going to be like. I think it's just going to continue to be loosened over the course of time as people
Right.
it either gets more socially acceptable or maybe some results come out from health reasons that it's
studies and
actually
all that.
benefits a lot of people. I have no idea. I'm
Well,
not an expert at all.
one thing I know for sure, there's going to be an abundance of marijuana in the state of Michigan, to where what's that?
Gonna be?
Oh, it's already there.
It's just that everyone's gonna know about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Like my mom's finally gonna realize that weed is everywhere.
oh, it's already there now.
But the square is okay, boomer. We don't get it.
Yeah.
Once again with that hard R.
The hard R, dude.
Get around with this shit.
Anyway, I wasn't trying to turn into a cannabis conversation, but it's obviously
relevant
we start
to our
talking about what's
industry.
going to happen with the beer industry. That's another player in the beer industry.
It'd be
for
a
sure.
lot cooler if
Absolutely.
you did.
Well,
we talked 200 episodes in. 200 episodes. Oh my God, we hit 400. Holy shit.
We won't be back.
Yeah,
No, we won't be invited
But to
back.
say
There's a
we
huge
hit
difference.
episode 400, let alone maybe even 300,
I'm voting for
is
Giant
that going to be
Meteor
a
next
trend?
year.
Is
We're not
that
coming back?
Is that the next New England? I use a New England IPA, THC infused.
It's. I look at it and it's not my thing. Neither is NA beer. I don't. I don't think you're going to convert people that like to drink beer. It's. that's what they like to drink.
Wait
They
a
like
minute,
the
but what
flavored
about the
beer.
children?
Wu-Tang turned 21.
Wu-Tang is for the children. We got the beer for everybody else.
Konnichiwa, bitches.
Did you say Wheat Tang or Weak Tang or Wheat Tang?
Weak Tang.
No, hey, that orange sour was weak tang, bro.
Was that the Weak Tank Clans?
That was the Sam Adams.
That is nothing to fuck with right there.
I don't,
That's gonna
you know,
go.
In a
the
good-
beer
in like a
drinkers
bad
are
way,
Still
it's
going to be
like
the beer
it's-
drinkers, but you're going to have a lot of people that
Absolutely
are
correct.
health conscious or whatever. They're looking for different things. You know,
I think
it may
that's
be another spike that goes in there, but the beer is not going to go away.
I think it's going to probably be the health conscience. Truthfully, I mean the seltzers kind of already hit that note a little bit.
Everyone wants to look like Matt.
And
Fist
really?
bumping and everything.
Who's everyone?
Those with hair.
Have you seen him?
You and your little comb.
His
over.
is just a little taller. Aaron.
Yeah, but I don't have those power
A
alleys.
little taller, a little longer.
I don't have the power alleys.
You
that
got
he
the you
has.
got the Snooki
I got
bump
the full
going
hair.
right now.
So, just so you guys are aware, our map editor and contributor Bill Carney posted in our chat that Michigan banned marijuana-infused alcoholic drinks in October 2018.
Look at that. He was right.
So about a year ago.
So this is one more non-alcoholic beer that I'm cracking open right now as we kind of, you know,
way past
come
our
to
normal time.
whatever.
I don't care.
We got this big ass bottle that's over here that needs
There's only
to be.
12 ounces in there. Quit stealing
What
it.
are, what are they going to do? Kick us out?
Yeah.
We're the only fucking
There's,
show
yeah, there's
here
somebody
on
else
Friday nights.
pounding on the doors to get in, right?
Yeah.
That's just pipe and
That was just me.
Is that box empty yet of Twisted Tea?
Dude, I've had probably
No,
half.
get on it.
So here's a interesting topic that Bill mentions actually. What about instead of THC beer, but THC seltzers, like a THC water?
It's happening. It's already being experimented with.
Where at?
I can't say.
Sam Adams.
Two Roots always
can you give
already
a-
makes waters and teas that have.
There you go.
THC.
Eric can officially say about one brand.
That's
bit.
one
Well,
brand.
there was when I was
best.
in Colorado, I was able to buy THC coffee, THC like a latte mix.
You can buy THC baby formula in Colorado.
Can you really?
No.
But again, that's.
I mean, you could have played the whole thing, but I'm
They've
just like,
had
all right.
legal weed for years, so look at where Michigan, you know, just like Michigan was behind the Colorado in the beer industry.
I feel like Michigan, like if you want to see where Michigan is, just look at what Massachusetts is right now and minus a year, and that's where Michigan's going to be in regards to the THC industry.
I just feel like Michigan's way too backwards and archaic. I feel like we're like Utah.
Well, you know what?
You
Bitching
could-
about it isn't going to help, though, and that's
many
that's not
wives do you
directed
want?
at you, Matt. That's directed at us as a whole. Like we all need to, like,
Start
say
a
the right
guild
thing.
that's gonna like.
Yeah,
lobby-
but we-
let's start a guild. Let's start a fucking guild for everything and just
go to
let
Quest.
somebody else do the work again. No, call your lawmakers, tell them your concerns, and tell them how you feel that these changes could benefit.
He only
Be
cares
a
about the old people.
goddamn salesman.
He only cares about the old people.
That's
Right.
what you
You
need
don't
to know.
need to be a president of a guild when you can just call your goddamn congressperson.
I do call my congressperson
and get the shit
He says-
changed.
And he says, "All right, thanks for telling me that."
Have you actually ever called your congressperson?
Yeah, I know what he is. I meet him at his name's Kevin Hurdle. I meet him at the EOS Cafe like once every other month.
And Kevin doesn't give you the time of day?
He does. He's like, "Oh, that's great. We'll talk to you later." And then he
You
goes
keep
somewhere
talking
else.
to his ass.
Sounds
All
like,
right,
sounds like.
Kevin, we're going to talk.
Kevin is not talking to this podcast. Does not
Hey,
listen to this
Kevin,
podcast.
we're gonna
I know,
talk.
he's
Legislators like money.
They like old people that vote.
Okay.
Well, you didn't say that's not true.
Okay, Boomer.
There you go.
There it is.
Finally.
Well,
no
all right.
Hurdle's a millennial like you, so you know you should relate.
How old is Hurdle?
Late 30s, almost 40 maybe ish.
Take him to Baffin.
He goes to Rosie's next door or Pat's next door.
Pats,
Pat O'Brien's.
Where's he at? In Ferndale?
Shores.
Actually, he's
The
like from
Shores.
Royal Oak all the way to St. Clair Shores.
Oh, I
It's
thought
kinda weird.
when you said. Oh, sorry, when you said
Doesn't go-
Rosie's, I thought.
Oh no, that's
likes
the
Royal Oak.
11 guy.
All right, coming back from really hyper local
yeah,
Michigan
yeah.
politics.
Let me
What show
add,
is
add
this?
something else. You mentioned like cannabis-infused seltzers and all that, and just speaking to seltzers in general, that's what is going to continue to grow. That's going to be another huge aspect. People think that it's a flash in the pan, that it's seasonal, that it's this, that it's that, and I'm not advocating on behalf of it necessarily, other than the fact that I'm seeing what it's actually doing, and this is reality. I mean,
It's growing.
it's still growing.
Yeah.
We're now in the cold months, and It's still selling like crazy. We're still having inventory issues across the U.S. The brewery is just finally starting to catch up with their summer out of stocks. Speaking of the brewery, as in, the main brand that everyone knows, White Claw.
Put it away.
There's going to be more and more and more and more and more and more in the coming years. And that has to do a lot with the health-conscious consumer, the active consumer, the lifestyle-minded consumer.
Now, John, you still sell beer. Have you seen less SKUs of Mike's, of that sugary non-beer alternative?
Sweet.
No.
So are you still moving the same amount of black cherry and lemonade and all that that you were, and now you're also
the irony, like everyone was so afraid that everyone's seeing all the seltzer pop up. Oh, it's killing craft beer. It's killing craft beer. No, craft beer is killing craft beer.
Amen to that.
Yep.
What do you mean?
It's true.
There are too many breweries.
Too many breweries local
Too many
or
breweries
national?
Well, too many breweries
distributing.
overall trying to distribute their product and squeezing out one another on the shelf.
Well, it's not killing craft. Craft
that a
beer's still
wholesaler
growing.
problem?
I'm not saying
They're-
that's not killing it.
It's
Craft
killing
beer
the
is still
individual players in the craft beer
Yes,
industry.
yes.
Isn't that a wholesaler
yes.
problem more than
That-
it is a brewery problem?
I mean, it's a brewery problem.
No, because when I used to work for a distributor like yours, 1 month it would be, we're going to do a big drive on this
Well,
brewery.
it's a
And then the next
problem
month it'd
with-
be like, hey, no, fuck that brewery. We're going to
No.
push this brewery.
Hold on.
No,
No wholesale.
No. That's not how it's done.
All right,
Well,
before
you know
this conversation continues, somebody needs to find an open beer and hand it to me. Thank you.
Or we can.
So-
Continue.
So John, if you don't mind me jumping
No,
in.
please. Yeah.
I've never worked for a wholesaler. However,
I have.
this
We
is
know
why
this.
I'm telling. Yeah, we know this. This is why I'm saying this out loud. There are very few things in this world that are finite.
Okay.
Right? Oil is finite.
Mathematics.
Mathematics are not finite. Okay, just do some.
I think he was just trying to say finite mathematics.
Ah,
Shelf space is finite.
Yes. Well,
No,
Not if
don't,
you
don't,
were
no, no,
for
no,
Halloween.
don't.
No.
Stop. You're wrong. If you're saying that it's not.
Everybody's not Costco.
Sam's
Still
Club.
right now.
Shelf space is finite. Draft lines are finite.
yes.
Okay, those are the two places. Hold on.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Yeah, you can throw up stackers on the floor. All right, you can say floor space is finite.
Well, you can plumb more draft lines.
finish, Matt.
This is where I'm going with this. Not everything is infinite. You can put out so many breweries, it doesn't matter. The shelf space and the taps, you can throw 1,000 taps out there. It does not matter. You're moving the same amount of liquid. So, if that's the case, brewery volume is going one of two ways by brewery, right? Not everyone is staying here. There are breweries that are going up, there are breweries that are going down. And the rate of that is going to dictate. So coming full circle to the end of the line. That is why you see certain breweries surviving, certain breweries not.
But I guess my thought is we would be better served by a more restrained wholesale association in Michigan. They wouldn't approach breweries from out of state and say, hey, you got to come to Michigan. We'll put you in 180 accounts in 30 days. Right after they put another brewery in 180 accounts in 30 days. And I've seen it. I've done it myself. My paycheck has been dependent on, hey, this month we're going to put Sheboygan Blood Orange Honey on 8 Mile because it'll sell. Or we'll find a way to sell them to the 7 Mile crowd that get them across for 2 for $5s. No, you won't. And then it's going to come out of my budget in a month when I have to take it back and put in
Why do you have to take it back?
cider
Why
boys.
don't you take the space from your competition?
He's not good enough. Just kidding.
It's a drug game, man. You gotta move that. You gotta move that.
Because
product.
shelf space is finite.
Yeah, so take it from the competition.
But it's finite. There's nowhere to move it.
It is.
I can't-
It
hey,
is to move it if
but
you
if I
take
have-
out your competition.
If I have 8 rows of Magnum that are selling,
This is why Matt used to work for a wholesaler.
well, it's because I didn't like to work for 11 hours a day for $8 an hour.
I do. I love it.
It's just like his corner on 8 Mile.
No, my point though is yes, and I absolutely appreciate what you're saying. And there is one specific wholesaler in the state that is notorious for that, and I don't name.
Schmauer's distributing?
No, not the thing that you're trying to allude to. but we're seeing a lot less brand collecting in more recent years. There's still one, well, actually two, but one of them is really tiny, that are doing some of that. But those brands also aren't getting legs, and those breweries are immediately getting frustrated because they just invested the money with product registrations and shipping to Michigan, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, you know, my gross profit from this whole adventure is, or my net is like $10 for a fucking container,
Or -10.
-10, yeah. Because let's be honest, we're in the beer industry. We work on slim margins to begin with. Every tier of the beer industry works on slim margins. So that has nothing to do with my original point. God damn it. You fucking derailed me again, man.
I didn't say anything. It was Briggerman this time. What I was trying to tell me is that
Haha, Brigger.
No!
the
Royd was talking.
Bullshit. How is this getting back to me? I was the first one who went.
the influx of breweries to Michigan has decreased over time.
It started with me saying that craft is killing craft, and we built off of that rather than my original
So
point.
you started it.
And
You did.
It's the
You
penny.
did
It's
start
the
it.
penny theory for How I Met Your
I'm gonna
Mother.
throw this
If you
fucking
wouldn't have
glass
jumped over
across
the
the room.
turnstile, you would have missed your flight to Chicago.
So,
Oh, this is getting
Cliff's notes from my original point.
the rabbit hole.
Seltzer is not killing craft. Seltzer, we're actually seeing seltzer take more business from wine and spirits than we are from craft beer or from beer as a whole. And retailers will tell you that. Wine sales and liquor sales are flat, if not down, at many retailers in many segments of the business. Well, that drinker is transitioning.
Is it because
to
people want ready to drink and they don't have to
seltzers.
fuck with their own cocktails?
White Claw and those canned seltzers like that were created as an alternative to basically a vodka soda for the active person on the go. Fill your backpack with, you know, a bunch of cans of stuff that you want to drink that is not going to fill you up while you're climbing a frickin' mountain or whatever people do. I mean, shit.
What do you think about
I
Miller
don't
changing
even
their name
jog.
to Miller Molson Coors
Well,
or
it's
whatever
not
the company?
Miller. It's Molson
beverage
Coors.
company.
Molson Beverage.
Beverage company instead of beer.
NBC.
Smart.
They're. I mean, that just shows they're looking at what's ahead. It's
Yeah.
more than just beer. They want to be able
It's
to.
forward
They're going to
thinking.
promote
It's
all kinds of
to
beverages. but-
a point earlier in tonight's discussion about constantly innovating. And that's what that is. That releases them from the blinders, from the box that they had built around themselves.
Can't be
they're
stubborn,
now
yep.
they're not now a brewing company, they're a beverage company.
Dude, Eric, I want you to repeat that so that every brewery. In
What,
the
that you
state of
can't be
Michigan-
stubborn?
Dude,
You can't say, I got to
don't
stick to
be
my
s-
guns.
Don't
stick to
be
my guns.
fucking stubborn.
Don't be fucking stubborn.
I mean, you can still stick to your guns.
Also,
you
to
gotta be
all
willing to
breweries
experiment
out there,
and do some
don't
stuff.
be a dick. Because a lot of you are being dicks. Don't be a dick.
Dude, say you can.
Everybody
say that
find your niche.
again.
We can still be nice in this game, guys.
Cultivate your community, make a profit, and have a good day.
Focus on your
Amen,
backyard,
brother.
too. Focus on your community.
Yeah.
Number one. That's, I mean, you look back in history when we had I think we've surpassed the number of breweries in the U.S. that we did at the historical
Twofold.
high at this point,
We
right?
talked about
Yeah,
it
we talked
earlier.
about
we
that
did.
before
We
you
did.
showed
You
up.
weren't here
Yep.
again.
Sorry,
You were
catching
late.
up.
45 minutes.
I crossed to Quinder. It's a different.
Time zone.
It's a 45-minute different time zone.
Yeah, that's daylight savings
there
time.
more tea
I
in
haven't
that
seen
box?
him in like a
There is more
year.
tea in the
Yeah,
box.
that's
seen him in like a year.
that's most
I got
of
you.
us.
I got
Oh
you.
my
I got you.
goodness.
Ready? Oh.
That's
Give him
good.
that O face.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's good. I don't need more.
It just looks so much weirder from this perspective.
The fact that we're gonna crush this box tonight
All
is gonna
right.
be great.
Pipe and Brock, finish up your.
I've been derailed.
Thanks,
Okay.
Brother
I
John.
think in general I've made my point, but everyone be nice, take care of your backyards. I mean, innovate. Don't be afraid.
All right,
Yeah.
guys, we are 40 minutes over.
That's awesome.
It is 9:40.
Which means we got 20 minutes.
We've got a great
Does that mean we're supposed to
conversation.
drink a 40?
We got 20 minutes to just
Yeah,
drink what's
we got
left on
20
the
minutes
table.
till 10.
We've got as much time as we want, but
9
I
Central
think
Time.
for this episode 200 is a wrap. Eric Brigham, where are you working? Where are you located? Socials, everything like that you want to promote?
Rochester Mills Production Brewery in Auburn Hills. Come visit us in the tap room. Give you a brewery tour.
They do not have the goulash at the Auburn Hills location.
No, there's no restaurant, so don't come there to eat food. Come there to drink beer.
There you go. John Piepenbrock, anything for you?
Yeah. Drink some good fucking beer. Drink what you want. Hopefully it's a brand that I sell, and I'm not going to promote the company that I work for. Those who know. Those who don't, well, that's okay too. But
Westville.
Always drink what you want.
always drink what you want.
Mr. Langtot.
Yeah, I work at ROAK. So come down to Royal Oak. I'll give you a tour.
How'd you come
Give
up
you
with a
some beer.
name? I don't know. We'll get
The
it.
same way they came up with the graphics when they started.
Wow.
Wow.
You're still riding that
We
fucking
are literally
train.
we are
MS
still
Paint.
online. I wasn't
We're
here.
pushing like a 3-hour show, and you come out with that shit.
Yeah.
So-
dude, it's literally 9:45, and you're coming out with that shit now.
Roak
that's
Brewing.
Listen, so yeah, ROAK, come down. Got some dope ass pizza.
Yes.
Got some good beer. Got some great wings. Come down. I'll give you a tour. Follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook,
Tinder.
Tinder,
Twatter.
Twatter, at Aaron Langtot, at A Langtot, at
Aaron
Aaron.Langtot, whatever the fuck. My last name is real hard to spell. LANCTOT.
Backdoorvirgins.com.
Farmers only.
Farmers only. Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle.
What's up?
All right.
Plenty of groupers.
We crossed a
Plenty of group.
All right. If you guys watch us live every single Friday, 7
Langtot.
p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Better on Draft. You can like us on all the socials, Instagram and Twitter, Better on Draft, Facebook, Better on Draft. Untapped, find out what we drank tonight on BOD Podcast, BODPODCAST. You can go check out our archive to find all of the shows from 1 to 145, as well as the current shows. Follow the current stream. Go check out our other podcasts, The Brews Brothers, as well as Beer Tour Guy, who just did a show with Cadillac Straits. Brews Brothers just did a show this week also over at Ale Mary's. Our sponsors, Zatuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills, Tavor, Michigan Beer Box, Ferndale Set,
Zatuna Liquor.
Zatuna
North Center
Liquor,
Brewing Company.
North Center Brewing Company, so much. We appreciate you guys for
Not bad
allowing
for a
us to do it for
struggling podcast.
200 fucking episodes. I've had a blast.
200 more.
To 200 more.
See
boy.
you at number 300.
200 more.
Empty glasses.
Cheers.
Guys, no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's
Better on Draft. I wonder if I'm getting fired next week.
better on draft.
You better have recorded that so you can use it every week.
Better on draft. Have a good night.
Peace.